Hey geeks, do you love comics, collectibles, and TCG? Well, here at Cardboard Cave, we have the place for you. Pass by Kapitan Granuja Comics and Games and find all your favorite geeky items there. Look for them at Facebook or Instagram or call them at 787-659-7003. A store blessed by Nicole Bolas.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cardboard Cave. I will be the host for tonight's stream. We will be discussing the plethora of spoilers from the new Magic Gathering set. Thank you, Wizards. It's been like 2 weeks or 3 weeks since Modern Horizons 2 came out. You're already like bombasting me, like freaking giving me another set to talk about. You don't let us breathe, man. And it's kind of crazy and insane. And I know it's a standard set. Come on, man. Give us a break. Give us a breathing room. Stop giving us so much product. There's so many sets all the time. It's crazy. But yeah, the thing is, I'm not a D&D expert. But thankfully, we do have a D&D expert. Welcome, JP.
Hello. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. I am here accompanied.
Awesome.
With the most magnificent director.
Oh, thank you. I haven't directed something in a while, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. We would have another D&D expert with us, but he has not arrived. Hopefully, he will arrive eventually. But I know JP's knowledge is plentiful, so anything that I'm like, that looks cool, he could be like, well, in D&D's lore, it's even better. So he's already done this like 3 times before the stream started. So it'll be interesting when we start discussing some of these cards, how he'll be like, well, it's cool, but in D&D, it's infinitely better because what the lore suggests is this, and that. And it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So we're going to start. We're going to try to be skimming a little bit. We're going to be talking about mostly the rares and the mythics, obviously. If there's any uncommon that we kind of see a little bit, that caught our eye or whatever, we'll stop to discuss it, but we'll probably just focus on mostly rares and mythics for today. A lot of stuff was spoiled during the week, so there's a lot to talk about. And in the comment sections, if you guys want to, talk about the D&D set, if you like it, if you don't like it, if you like the new mechanics, if you hate them, just let us know what you think. It's an interesting set. It almost feels ungluey in some ways.
To an extent, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Wizards is experimenting and doing different things. I embrace it. I think it's fine. Like I get it. They have to expand. Hasbro is telling them they need to make money, so I guess I get it.
This is definitely making money.
Oh yeah, this is definitely gonna make a bunch of money. Like it's probably gonna get a bunch of people that have never played Magic, like it's happened before with like the Walking Dead set and stuff like that. I think It's going to bring a lot of people to Magic, at least for this core set. Which, by the way, yes, guys, this is the core set. If you guys didn't know, it's a core set, which is interesting.
It's core set.
Yeah, it's a weird core set because I've yet to see in the spoilers the normal cards that you need in Magic to function, meaning shock or negate or stuff like that.
Those are commons.
Fair enough, but I guess we'll see it next week. So I guess whatever. Or they'll make like a flavorful D&D variation of negates. I guess maybe
they already. They already made. I guess it's a bit overcosted. It's basically like a fork bolt, but for 3, and it's 3 damage.
Yeah. No, but I'm pretty sure they'll make shock at least. Like you need shock to function, or you at least need lightning strike to function.
How about forked bolt? Is forked bolt too strong? I know forked bolt is a sorcery.
Yeah,
but that does limit it. But it's 1 damage to up to 2 targets, so you can deal 2 damage to something and 1 damage and 1 damage.
Yeah, you can split it, but I think the sorcery speed is the thing that makes it not that viable as comparison to like a shock or at least a lightning strike, because you need that immediate face damage. Remember, the purpose of these red cards is the versatility of I'm hitting a creature, I'm going to hit your face, but I need to do the instant speed to kind of close out the game because I need to close it out quick.
It's kind of unfortunate how in the D&D set has this like D&D per se has the spells counter spell and lightning bolt, and we're not getting those cards.
Oh yeah, we're never getting
perfect. But
you know what? I think I read a rumor last week that there was signs that there was a possibility that lightning bolt could come. I read that. I think it was on Reddit. because they were analyzing exactly like what you said. There is a thing that exists in D&D, so
And-
there could be a possibility.
And also, from what I've seen in the standard metagames, I've been a bit more attentive this last few weeks, like this last week, just looking through games, and red is strong, but it's not like oppressive strong.
Yeah.
Like it can be beat very easily.
Yeah.
If you have the right deck. It's just very plentiful because it's cheap and always pretty easy to pilot.
Yeah.
So
it
maybe
could use that boost. I mean, it would make
But-
for a fun standard again. Because I get it. It's lightning bolt. It's very
it's
strong.
very strong.
Come on, don't be cowards, wizards. It's
at-
okay.
At worst, if they print lightning bolt, just the next few sets just ignore red basically.
Oh yeah, sure, exactly. Don't give them anything else. I mean, lightning bolt is fine, but if you give them for like a year, give them. Well, it would be just a year. Just give them lightning bolt for a year. It's fine, like whatever. Because they don't have shock. Shock right now is not in the format.
No,
Wait,
I'm
is
not
it?
sure. But I don't
No,
think
well,
so.
it would rotate out. Like at worst, you would have shock and lightning bolt in the same format, or well, you would have the Throne of Eldraine Giant and lightning bolt, which is kind of ridiculous.
What
but
we
I-
could have though is like a variant. You know how Shock has a variant with Wild Slash, and Wild Slash was with the ferocious mechanic.
True.
So there is like a new mechanic we'll be talking about later called
Yeah.
Pack Tactics. It's
Yeah.
very much similar to the ferocious and formidable mechanic from Dragons of Tarkir and Khans of Tarkir.
Yeah.
I think Fate Reforged also had it. It was all that whole block.
Yeah.
The whole block set. They
Yeah.
had it, so
Yeah, I mean,
it's very similar.
Give us lightning bolt and give it a different name. Lightning super
Call
bolt.
lightning
Call lightning.
instead of no, because call lightning is as an actual spell.
Oh, okay, cool.
So if you can't give us lightning bolt because it already exists, call lightning is a very close second.
Okay, call lightning, and then it deals damage. It deals 3 damage to any target, and then you venture into a dungeon. Okay, let's start.
That's premium better.
And let's have it have split second. Let's have it have split second.
Of course.
Why
yeah.
not? Yeah, why not? Let's just break it. Okay, let's start. Okay, so I pulled up Scryfall, so we can start talking some of the cards. JP, I know you have some opinions of this card called Tarasque.
Yeah,
Talk to
Tarrasque.
us why this card is horrible and why it could be better.
The actual card isn't bad.
Okay.
But it just doesn't live up to what the name suggests. The Tarrasque is like world-ending apocalyptic event. It should just end the game. Like it should be a creature that has the potential to end the game. So I'm not like just okay for our listeners. It's Tarrasque, 6 green, so 9 mana for a legendary creature dinosaur. If Tarrasque was cast, it has haste and ward 10. Whenever Tarrasque attacks, it fights target creature defending player controls.
Yep.
10-10. So, one simple thing they could have done, in my opinion, that would have made this better is when it enters and when it attacks, fight a creature. Where do you have one card in Standard that does that? It's 7 mana, it sees no play whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever and it's technically even better because it says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, it just fights something.
Yep.
So it's this being a mythic, it's a 10-10 fine. Ward 10 can be relevant in the haste, so you play it. It basically in terms has hexproof. You just attack with it and try to get some value, but. As a world-ending event for D&D knowledge, it should have like double strike and trample just to make sure like it's 20 health. A 10-10 double strike trample would swing in, hit you twice, and kill you. World-ending event.
Yeah.
But this is just it's disappointing how I think the spell I'm talking about is an uncommon. I'm not sure.
I mean, there's been a lot of green creatures in previous standard sets that fight creatures twice. There was an Ikoria gorilla, which was alluding to Kong. He fights creatures. There was There was another
Oh,
green creature. There was
the
a green dinosaur, right? Like
yeah,
that's a previous set that he would
yeah.
fight. Yeah,
Just it's
yeah,
just once. It's just a bit
I agree.
disappointing.
Yeah, once you explain to me what this thing was in terms of D&D lore, I feel like it should have had more keywords. I do find it sneaky that they said you have to cast it, which I guess it's fine because if you cheat it, and there are cards even in the standard set where you could potentially cheat this card in. I guess it's fine that it says cast, so you don't get sneaky plays. You have to actually cast this card to get its full value. I do find it funny that it has Ward 10 because literally that just means it has X proof because no one will have
Uh,
10 extra mana to be able to
Ward
kill this stupid thing.
Ward 10 is flavorful because the Tarrasque has magical resistance. It just has any magical thing is just
Okay.
basically almost useless against it.
Yeah. I get you. Okay. That's flavorful. I dig it. But yeah, I agree with you. It should have way more keywords. I'm sorry. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so you want to talk
So
about some of
the
the
the,
creature
the, the,
lands?
the lands, yes. Let's talk about the man lands.
Yeah.
They are fast
Yeah.
man lands. So
Mhm.
fast lands are a thing like it was, I think, Mirrodin and Kaladesh had all the cycles for the fast lands. So this
Yeah.
is a fast land. If you control two or more lands, it enters the battlefield tapped. So
Yeah.
otherwise, it will enter untapped. So let me read this. This is the black, the
Yeah.
black one. Hive, the Eye Tyrant. It's a land. If you control two or more other lands, Hive the Eye Tyrant enters the battlefield tapped.
Hmm.
You can tap it to add black, and the man lands area is 3 and a black until end of turn. The Hive turns into a 3/3 black beholder, a creature with menace, and whenever this creature attacks, exile target card from defending player's graveyard. It's still a land.
Yeah.
So there's a cycle of these, one for each color. We'll be talking about these soon. But I'm very like just to talk about the actual lands per se and
Hmm.
their concept. I really enjoy this.
Yeah.
There used to be, or there is, other manlands that used to be like very like they're probably. This is the green one. The green one's the only one I think treetop village.
Hmm.
It's a green land that enters tapped. You pay 1 and a green, and you make a 3/3 green ape. The
Oh.
land turns into a 3/3 green ape.
Hmm.
That's the only one I know that sees plays in just random places. So
Mhm.
this is very reminiscent to this, except the man land portion is maybe a bit overcosted, but it has
Yeah.
abilities in addition. So a 3/3 beholder with menace. So for 4 mana, a 3/3 menace attacks and removes things from graveyard. If you have like a, a deck that runs black and you feel like you can go into the late game, this could be just in your deck
Hmm.
and just have a random 3/3 blocker, a
Yeah.
random 3/3 graveyard removal. All the others have different effects, so it's just very nice to see like this diversity. Also, the card art. This is
Yeah.
the alternate card art, and
Yeah. That's why I put it because I obviously like
oof,
the alternate card art for
these
sure.
these arts are.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I would run this in Ayara. I'm thinking, okay, just
Hmm.
I don't thinking for standard for commander.
For
At least for
commanders,
my
yeah,
commander, like Ayara really needs swamps. Like
yeah,
I sometimes I feel like I don't have enough swamps in play,
yeah.
and
You
have
can't
and I run.
afford to have a
I
land
I
that
can't
comes
afford. Yeah,
to play tapped basically all of the time. It's gonna come tapped most of the time.
but
Yeah, it's a cool ability. I think that this is in competition with the Snowland that came out in Kaldheim.
the 3/4.
Yeah, the 4/3.
It's a 4/3.
The 4/3 that comes that
Yeah,
you to use 3 Snowlands, because
yeah,
what I was reading was that a lot of the mono black decks are basically snow based in
yes,
standard, and the thing is, well, for one less mana you get one more power, and there's versatility involved because it's 3 snow. It's not necessarily 3 swamp or whatever. So
yeah.
theoretically, if you had a Lacerdos forever, but yeah,
And
so
if you got two of them, that it
exactly,
produces snow, so you could also
e-
feel it that way.
exactly. So I like this one because it has menace, so it's not completely useless by tapping 4 mana and utilizing this land, and it does exile a card, so it's fine. Obviously, the one that I like the most is the red one, which we'll be discussing soon. I think it's fine. I don't. I mean, it all depends on what type of deck you're using with black. It has to be a mono black deck. If you use this maybe in two colors, it's already kind of iffy as it is.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I
I,
don't
I
really love it.
I haven't seen the mono black list for standard. I saw one for historic,
Hmm.
which basically was mono black aggro. It's just basically very very fast, and
Yeah,
it does run the snowland
yeah.
before. So I
So
can
let me
see where
talk
this is
about
going.
this one. It's called Hall of the Storm Giant. It has obviously the same keyword that it will enter tap that you control two more lands. It taps for blue. And if you pay 5 and a blue, until end of turn, Hall of the Storm Giant becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with Ward 3. It is still a land. At first glance, you know me, I I got upset. I was like, it's a shit land. It does nothing as Ward. But then I was reconsidering and thinking, if you're playing a strictly control based deck that just has planeswalkers, just has a bunch of removal, a bunch of countering, you need something to close out the game. And I think that in retrospect, my stupid butt should have realized that this is kind of a good way to close out the game.
It's a
Because,
freebie.
yeah, it's a freebie, and in 3 hits, you can finish someone off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has Ward 3, so it is going to become a little complicated for the opponent to get rid of it when you're attacking with it. Because if they do like a murder, for example, which I know it's a bad
Six
example,
six
it's,
mana murder. Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty
like
bad.
6 mana murder or like a
Or
2 mana removal spell, like it's gonna
yeah.
become a problem. So I think it's a good land for control. I think control is probably gonna use it because it's like you said, it's a freebie. It's a 7/7, so at 3 hits you can stop. You can basically kill the
Blue white
opponent.
control could
Yeah,
really use this. Yeah.
blue white control or
Uh,
blue black control or Esper control
yeah.
might be a thing.
Like
However,
I really like this one. This one's strong, a lot stronger than the other
yeah,
one.
definitely.
Also, I understand this the six mana, but
Mhm.
in like 6 mana, you just need basically in turn 7.
Yeah.
Turn 7 for a 7/7 is not a bad 7 mana. But it's like in theory because you would be activating this land. 7 mana for a 7/7 is not that bad.
Yeah, it's not.
Like it's on par for the mana.
Hmm.
4 mana for a 3/3. That's a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But
Because
this
I
is a
think
four.
they valued. I think they valued the menace too highly, or maybe the exile a card from graveyard. While this one, they were like, well, we're just giving it ward, so it's not that great. So let's just undercost it
No,
a little bit.
this one's pretty strong.
Yeah, it's strong. In retrospect, I should have been like, because you know me. The thing is, one of my frustrations with modern Magic is that a lot of the blue cards right now have turned more into being creature based and doing stuff for creatures and not being what it originally has been, which has been like drawing a bunch of cards and countering a bunch of stuff and stopping your opponent from doing stuff, and has shifted to doing other things. And that's been kind of my frustration as of recent. So seeing like this card not be like, well, when you attack, you get to ponder. Like, it's stupid of me being thinking that it would do something like that, but I kind of wish, and there is a good card up ahead, a good mythic that kind of does the stuff that I like in blue, but with extra steps, which is kind of the annoying part of it. But it's fine. Like you said, it's a really strong card. I still argue that the red one is the strongest by a lot, but we'll get to that one soon enough. But yeah, this one's really good. It'll be definitely used in control for sure. Okay, moving on. There's this mythic. Oh, it's the same thing.
Uh,
Okay, so we can skip ahead.
okay,
You want to talk about the
uh,
Minion of the Mighty?
okay,
Like,
Minion of the
quick.
Mighty
Go
for
ahead.
real quick. 1 mana 0/1, pretty on par for a kobold
Yeah.
because it's not only a kobold in History of Magic, the Gathering. Kobolds are 0/1, and it's flavorful for DnD since kobolds a lone kobold is no threat, but
Mhm.
a pack of them is very much a threat. As the mechanic I've been talking about, pack tactics. So let me read Minion of the Mighty. It's 1 red for a creature kobold. It has menace and pack tactics. Whenever Minion of the Mighty attacks, if you attacked with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, you may put a dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Well, this could I'm not sure how viable, just having how consistent this could place a dragon in standard because I haven't really seen. Maybe you could pair this red green big power early game creatures
Mm-hmm.
and start going in. But this is
Yeah,
a 0/1, so you really need that 6 power.
definitely.
This won't have any power to add to it. The real thing is this is a pretty strong card for any dragon commander.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is a really strong
There's
card
this
for that.
weird combo. I think Seth talked about it, where you put two Infuriates on it, and then you get to play this. I think this card is in Strixhaven or the Zendikar sets. It's a dragon that basically gives double strike to everything on the field. So you give two. You basically turn one do this. Turn two have two Infuriates. Attack with it. Then you play the dragon tapped and attacking, and then this thing is going to get double strike, so you'll hit for 12, and then the other thing is going to hit for 10 because it's a 5/5. So you basically hit the opponent for 22 damage. Obviously, it's janky. Obviously, you're probably going to see Seth trying to do that all the time in a freaking against the odds. But like you said, its home will definitely be in a commander deck for sure. I feel like
Yeah.
it's pretty good for that. But yeah, I don't think for standard it's gonna sit in
Uh,
there.
I'm sure. Did I mention? I'm pretty sure I mentioned the pack tactics mechanic is very reminiscent of Dragons of Tarkir.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. So okay,
go ahead.
this is Xanathar Guild Kingpin.
Yeah,
4 blue and a black for a legendary creature Beholder. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until end of turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of their library anytime. You may play the top card of their library, and you may spend mana as well for any color to cast spells this way. So Xanathar being the leader of a guild, it's basically like a thieves guild, and Zeta beholders are very much narcissistic, and they think they are the biggest thing in the universe. And also because it's a thieves guild, he's stealing stuff from you. Is very flavorful. Being a 5/6 is very strong. I thought maybe it's overcosted because for 5 mana, but a 5 mana 5/6 with this ability would be a bit too strong.
yeah,
Maybe not for standard, but maybe for commander. I'm just thinking of Sun triplets.
yeah,
So it's very reminiscent of that. Sun triplets, it's 2 white, black, and a blue. There are 3/3s. They're legendary creature artifacts, and they're human, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
And they do basically this exact same thing, but instead of looking at the top card of your library,
It's the
they look
hand.
at your hand, and you
Mhm.
can't. They have more access to more cards. So
Yep.
they were maybe thinking of that when they made this, and they thought, okay, Centriplix might be a bit too strong, so let's just make this for the top card of your library. But it also
Yeah, because you can fizzle theoretically.
you could fizzle theoretically, yes,
Yeah,
but also you could build this lantern control type commander, and that sounds pretty interesting and fun and different in blue black colors. I'm very excited for the design space of Demir in this in
yeah.
that type of card.
I mean, if you notice, a lot of these cards in this set play with the top card of the deck. There's a lot of them, and in different colors too. Like I've seen a lot of red cards too do that.
I've noticed.
Yeah, it's an interesting new thing that Wizards has been trying to push, not in this set exclusively. I've been seeing this happen for the last year or so, I think, that they've kind of been like, oh, let's play around with the top deck a little more, and yeah, it's interesting.
In a way, because of its standard, playing with the top of the card accelerates the game because an additional card you would have access to. So
Yeah.
it's like theoretically card draw, but if you keep playing stuff from the top, it's card advantage,
Yeah.
not just card draw.
Okay.
There it is.
So let's talk about Den of the Bugbear, because I don't like Spear of Annihilation.
I think we can just skip Fear Annihilation.
Yeah,
It's just
definitely.
bad.
Yeah, Sphere Annihilation is a board wipe that takes a turn to happen, which is a big problem because people are just going to target the shit out of you. That's kind of it. Okay, so let's talk about Den of the Bugbear. Den of the Bugbear, another one of those lands, does the same thing as the other ones. It taps for red, and you pay 3 in a red. Until the end of turn, Den of Bugbear becomes a 3/2 red goblin creature with whenever this creature attacks, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. It is still a land. JP, it's not the most broken one.
I feel like it isn't. To be
Why
honest,
not? It's really good.
I really like the Hall of the Storm Giant.
Man,
So
I feel like this is so strong.
as a finisher, it's really strong. It definitely is. But this is like the top end of aggro.
Okay. I guess so because you need to pay 4 mana for it.
At 3 mana, it'd be like 3 mana 2/2 that did the effect. It would become another Rabble Master,
Yeah.
and a Rabble Master on a land, definitely very strong.
Yeah.
Definitely. But at
Yeah.
4 mana, like just like the Beholder one, it's
Sure.
it's just lacking a bit. Maybe I'm just thinking because the 6 mana one is a 7/7. Because
Yeah.
basically you could only activate this when you have 5 lands
True.
because you pay 4 and that's
That's
your
the land.
your
That's the land you're
ba-
using.
if you're thinking of it in this way, you pay in theory 5 mana for a 3/2 that makes a
Yeah.
1/1. In
I
the other
just
one, you pay in
yeah.
theory 7 mana for a 7/7.
I'm just looking at it because since it produces a 1/1 red goblin that stays, that's why I'm thinking like I like this a lot. That's
If
why I
the
was thinking.
the bugbear had some type of it's like the red 3/2 goblin had some type of evasion or something. What was it? Shadows over Innistrad
Yeah.
or Eldritch Moon mechanic Skulk
Yeah.
because you know how these creatures are like stealthy and try to ambush you. The Skulk mechanic would kind of work. So trying to like some type of pseudo evasion
Hmm.
that could still be stopped,
Yeah.
but like not everything would be 100% stopped would be better.
Yeah.
In theory, 5 mana. I don't. That's why I really
That's
didn't.
fair. Okay. I guess I can give you that. Okay.
It'll probably still see play because definitely out of nowhere a 3/2 that makes a like just 4 power out of nowhere because you had a land
Hmm.
is definitely strong.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's talk about Ice Death Frost Titan. I don't know.
Icing Death,
Yeah.
Frost Tyrant. It's a two white for a legendary creature dragon, flying vigilance. When Icing Death Frost Tyrant dies, create Icing Death Frost Tongue, a legendary white equipment artifact token with a creep creature gets +2/+0, and whenever a creep creature attacks, top target creature the defending player controls, and it has equip 2. So I enjoy the flavor of this. It's
Okay.
like basically you're making a weapon out of the body, and it's basically like a frost tongue. It's like the same the opposite of a flame tongue. A flame tongue is just a big sword. It's a sword that just deals extra fire damage in D&D. This
Yeah.
would be like a extra cold damage, but in this case, the cold damage is representing by tapping a target because that's very reminiscent to the card Icy Manipulator,
Yeah.
which taps and the whole tapping of ability has always been tied to frost and that theme.
Hmm.
4/3 flying vigilance for white, like for 4 mana, is very good.
Yeah.
And when it dies, it still does stuff. So I enjoy this card, and it could see like if white gets more aggressive cards, and if they've been getting slowly more aggressive cards, this could be this could see pretty could see
Some
play.
level of play. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think so. I like it that at least when it dies, it still gives you something. It has good stats. It's pretty good, pretty well costed. So it's not like, oh, it's 6 mana for a 4/3 that gives you an no. At least it's 4 mana. So at least it's pretty good. And again, it leaves you with a good equipment that's cheap to
the
equip
the,
as well.
the equip cost being cheap is very key.
Yes,
Although I
exactly.
would have preferred it to be like something like 1 mana.
Oh,
Make
agreed.
it aggressive. Make it aggressive. Like
Yeah,
their white isn't like I haven't. Have you seen mono white weenies be a thing
exactly.
since freaking War of the Sparks
Yeah,
rotated? Yeah, no, it hasn't been a thing.
exactly. So I agree. I feel like it should be a little more aggressive and costed. Okay. Let's talk about Flame Skull,
Land. Wait,
which oh, you want to skip the Flame Skull? It's not that
just
great.
just to get over with the land because the land we
Sure.
already talked about the other lands. So this is the same type of land. It's the white one. Keep the Frost Dragon because we already talked about Icing Death, and 4 and a white for Cave of the Frost Dragon becomes a 3/4 white dragon with flying until end of turn. It's still a land. I feel like this is better than the Bugbear land
Okay. Why
just
so?
because of the 3/4 flying.
I guess because it has better
We've
stats.
seen how Celestial Colonnade sees play in Modern.
True.
That land has flying and vigilance.
Yeah.
It's a 4/4.
Yeah.
This doesn't have vigilance, but a 3/4 flying for the same cost in standard is, I feel like this could actually see play, and like the having the, like I said, blue white. Imagine a blue white control deck, and these are your finishers. You just
Yeah.
have the lands.
The flying one and the frost.
7/7.
Yeah.
Either you attack from the floor with a big beefy creature that can't be targeted, basically, or you attack from the air after everything's cleared.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. I feel like it should be a little cheaper in terms of the cost. I would have put it with the same cost as the other lands,
They're,
Bugbear
they're
and
all
the black one.
overcosted, yeah.
Yeah, they're all overcosted. The only one that's kind of fair costed is the blue one, and it's because it's a 7/7. So I guess they realized, like, come on, we're not gonna make it cost like 9 mana. But yeah, it could be a little bit cheaper in terms of cost. But yeah, I feel like it's good. I guess because of the keyword, it's a 3/4. It's flyer. Yeah, it's a good keyword. Moving on. Give me a second.
Okay.
Let's skip Flame Skull. It's a bad mythic. I don't. think it's very good
Okay,
at all.
just real quick. 1 red flying can't block. It's a 3/1, and when it dies, you exile top a card, and you can just play that card.
Yeah,
That's basically it.
yeah.
It's
I
the
don't-
top card, or like the top.
Of your library, and so after your next turn,
Yeah.
you may play that card. Yeah,
It's pretty bad.
yeah. It's pretty bad. I don't. There's
That's
so
it.
many
It's
better
just
cards.
pretty bad.
Oh, that looks pretty. I didn't see the
Yeah.
alternate version. Yeah.
Yes.
All these alternates look fantastic. Um, we could briefly talk about Mimic because it's cute. Like, it's an artifact. It's a 2 costed artifact. You sack it. You add mana of color, or it becomes a 3/3 paying 2. Like, it's cute. Oh shoot! Oh god! I closed the tab. Give me a second. No, I didn't close the tab. I moved it. There we go. Let's go back.
The staff is pretty bad.
Yeah,
It's,
let's
it's
skip the
okay.
staff.
It's okay.
Let's talk about
the
the
treasure
chest
chest.
because
Yes,
it's cute. Yeah.
and also because it introduces one of the mechanics
Yes.
that's really prevalent in current
the set.
cards, because with cards we've seen more recently,
Mhm.
it's rolling dice. So rolling a d20. So this
Yep.
is treasure chest, 3 mana for an artifact. You pay 4 mana and sacrifice treasure chest. You roll a d20, and at a 1 you get trapped, so you lose
Yes.
3 life.
Yep.
Between a 2 and a 9, you get 5 treasure tokens. So your investment for 4 mana is already comes back.
Yep.
At 10 to 19, you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards.
Which is insane.
For 4 mana, that's
It's
pretty
insane.
good.
That's insane.
And at 20, you just search your library for a card. If it's an artifact, you just put it into play.
Yep.
Otherwise, you put it into your hand.
Which is insane as well. Obviously, all these 20 effects will obviously be very, very overpowered. But even the 10 to 19, I think it's insane. The fact that you can do this at instant speed or whatever, you just put the little treasure chest, and then whatever you want to crack, you have extra mana, crack it. At worst, like you said, it will replace itself essentially.
And mana-wise, yeah.
Mana-wise, and at best, because honestly, the best circumstance is going to be 10 to 19.
I
You're
mean,
gonna get 3
at
cards.
worst, you lose 3 life.
Yeah, at very worst, but that's like super worst because getting a 1 is
It's a
ridiculous.
5% chance, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I guess, yeah, sure, but
But yeah, in general, a 5% chance to get a bad effect. Everything else is just upside because you just 5 treasure tokens makes you it goes even on mana cost and then 1.
Yep.
It's like everything else is just better.
Yeah.
So this is actually you think this could see play? It might be a bit slow, but
I don't think so. It's cute. It's cute for like Commander, but I don't think it's gonna see play in Standard at all. No. I don't think so. There's more interest in D20 ones that I think that still won't even see play, but I don't think this was gonna see play. I don't know. I think that the T20 mechanic thing about rolling dice, there's like maybe 2 that I would argue are really good, but the rest of them are not great. Let's talk about Gaia's Cradle.
Circle of the Dreams Druid. Green for a creature elf druid. It's a 2/1, and he has a little nice ability called. Sorry, it's just tap and add a green for each creature you control.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's a
This is really
rare.
strong. It's a rare. I feel like it should have been a rare either way.
No,
I
it's
don't.
fine. Yeah.
It shouldn't be a mythic. And one of the things I want to talk about flavor wise is Circle of the Dreams Druid is a subclass for the actual game. So it's kind of interesting to see if more subclasses appear as cards. Like I don't know, College of Lore, the Bardic College of Lore Bard or College of Lore Bard or Conjuration Wizard, something like that. I don't know. It'd be interesting if we just like it's a lot of subclasses, so it would be a lot of cards. They don't all have to be rares because let's be honest, not all the subclasses are like top tier. Like there's always gonna be one above the other.
Yeah.
But like seeing the flavor represented for each card and each subclass would have been nice. I don't think they're gonna do it, but I'm just hoping they do more of these.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
it's broken. It's pretty really strong. I don't know. Maybe could see play it standard, but I kind of highly doubt it because it is a 2/1 for 3 mana, and it doesn't do anything immediately when it comes down. But for commander,
in terms of cube, a lot of people were just kind of saying like Priest of Titania is just better, 2 mana. Those are just the 3 mana, other than the green commitment, because it's a heavy commitment in green.
Yeah.
The 2/1 is just too little. They were talking about Llanowar Tribe being 3 mana, and they add 3 mana.
Yeah.
But it's a 3/3, so its body is actually relevant in combat.
Mm-hmm.
This is as a 2/1 is not. And
Yeah.
that's the little problem.
I guess it was the fear of like
Making it too strong. Oh,
yeah.
definitely. It's too.
Yeah.
It's like, otherwise it would be too strong.
Yeah. But I love it. There's some uncommon common cards that basically do you see a guard approach, and then you choose one, and they're just filled with flavor. Distract the guard, or you hide.
You don't understand. Like you're probably thinking, oh yeah, flavor, but modal cards are very, very good for limited format.
Oh no, definitely. I'm not dismissing them. I'm just saying that they did a bunch of these essentially.
Yes. Yeah. So the flavor of each one is amazing, on point. I have one there's one where the flavor is just amazing, and I want to talk about it when we get there. But otherwise, like just a bunch of these modal cards are very, very strong. This one, like 3 mana, it's a Plundering Barbarian, 2 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, you choose one. Smash the. Sorry, what does it say? Smash the test. Destroy target artifact or pry it open. Create a treasure token, and it's a 2/2.
Yeah.
People are playing Vandal Savage. What's it called?
Character?
No. It's a. Let me. I have right here. Yeah. I know it's Vandal something. Manic Vandal. Manic Vandal is a 2 and a red for a creature, human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, and it's a 2/2. Yeah. People play this card in cube.
Yeah.
And this card is already just better.
Yeah.
So a lot of these little effects, people just dismiss them, but it's a lot of upgrades. You can see power creep kind of.
Yeah.
This is relevant.
There's a green one that I believe literally destroys either enchantment or an artifact too. I believe. I gotta check to make sure, but yeah.
I know there's a white one that destroys enchantments, and then there's a green one that destroys artifacts.
I want to talk about this one. He's fucking horrible. Gelatinous cube. He's really bad. I don't like it a lot. It's a
bad chupacabra.
But exactly, it's a horrible chupacabra. I just like the flavor of it because when you think about what a gelatinous cube does, it's pretty on point. It's like, it gets to engulf. So basically, when it enters the battlefield, it exiles target non-ooze creature and opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield, right? So it engulfs it. But it's still not dissolving it. But don't worry, guys, because you can dissolve it. So you get to dissolve it. You play X and a black to put target creature card with mana value X exiled with gelatinous cube into its owner's graveyard. So, it is Chupacabra with extra steps. It is a rare. but it's just so hilarious to me, the
I feel
flavor.
for that to be strong, I feel like you would need to word it like engulf
Yeah.
to do the engulf thing, and then the dissolve at the end of the dissolve, just say engulf another creature.
Oh yeah, and it just keeps looping. Yeah, because it kind
It
of
keeps looping, but
yeah,
it's still a lot of mana commitment.
I
So
agree.
it would be pretty fair.
Yeah, that would have made it a little bit better. Yeah.
Right here, the
You want to talk about
gala.
this? Okay. I don't have any opinions on this guy.
Okay, I just want to talk about it. Okay, it's an illithid scholar. So in D&D, mind flayers are basically illithid, and I was kind of just disappointed that the illithid per se as a creature type or mind flayer as a creature type isn't a thing.
Okay.
They're all horrors, and which they are aberrations, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, it's interesting this card because I know where it could fit, but it's a very niche fit, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of afraid of making another Edric.
Yeah.
So Edric says it's a white and it's one green blue. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. There's other caveat that if people attack each other, they draw cards, but
Hmm.
that's not really relevant. This one is just you only get to draw one card,
Yep.
while Edric draws several cards, and that's what limits this card. But we don't want any. We don't want mono blue flash and mono blue aggro to be a thing again.
Yeah. No, I get it.
That was
That's why.
that was a pretty strong, pretty cheap and strong deck.
Yeah. Yeah. I when I saw it, I was like, it's fucking horrible. Shitty blue rare. I skipped ahead. The 50 feet of rope, I like it because again the flavor, and I don't know much about D&D, but I feel like this is pretty flavorful because I'm pretty sure people have ropes in D&D, like it's a normal
Yeah,
thing to have.
it's in every adventure pack.
Exactly. So you get to climb over, you get to tie up, you get to rappel down. It's cool. I do find it interesting that this artifact is better than a land we're going to see soon
Yes.
because he for you pay 1 and you have your 50 feet of rope, and then for 4 you get to venture into a dungeon, and you can only activate this as sorcery by tapping it and paying 4, right? And this has a lot of versatility because it's a cool little rope. But eventually we're gonna get to this specific land that they released where you get to venture with the land, but it's so horrible. Any of these you want to talk about?
The orb is not that good. So
No.
the orb just basically adds mana and just lets you search for dragons.
Dragons. Yeah.
So the orb of dragon kind. The werewolf pack leader
Yeah.
is interesting because it's cheap. It's 2 mana 3/3.
Yeah. It's already pretty good.
So it's already pretty good. The pack tactics mechanic, so it's already halfway there,
Mhm.
and then you can make it even bigger.
Yeah. You won't make it 6
what's-
power bigger, but you can make it
Oh,
5.
What was it was an elf. It was a 2 mana elf that you could pay mana and make it bigger.
Yeah.
Thorn something.
Yeah.
It was in standard a few maybe a year ago.
Mhm.
I know I can't remember the exact. I know it's 2 mana to play, so
Yeah.
it was already pretty good.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the exact name. I know it was Thorn something. Thorn Lieutenant. 1 in a green. Whenever a Thorn Lieutenant becomes target of a spell or
yeah.
ability you control, opponent controls, you create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. It was a 2/3, and you can pay 6 mana to give it +4/+4 until end of turn. So that's a lot of play.
Yeah.
So
I think
I feel like
this
this
pack
will see
leader-
play because of that same mechanic.
Yeah, definitely. It's aggressively costed. If you literally have 2 of these, you get to start drawing cards, and if you have extra mana to do mana sinking, which you will
You draw
have.
2 cards.
Yeah, you draw 2 cards. Exactly.
Whoa, that's actually that's
so
actually
you just
pretty
stick
relevant.
2 of these or whatever, and then you start drawing a bunch of cards in green, which is I guess that's the thing you do in green now. You draw for everything, and then for 4 mana you get to make it a 5/3 with trample too. That's pretty freaking strong.
You could end the game pretty fast.
Yeah, you could definitely put people on a clock. I guess you want to talk about the Book of Vile Darkness. I don't know
I'm
if
just
you-
kind of sad about it. It's just
Oh,
not
you are?
good.
Okay. I don't know
Uh,
much about the lore, and I'm assuming it's very lore heavy.
So I'm not 100% sure on the lore either. I
Okay.
know, but I know about what it does on what what it brings to the table with the token. So, Book of Vile Darkness. It's black, black, black. Legendary artifact at the beginning of your end step. If you lost 2 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 zombie creature token. I feel like this should be the main ability. This should be what you'd be looking for. And one further up, the white version of this is just infinitely better.
Okay.
But what it does, you exile the Book of Vile Darkness and an artifact you control named Eye of Vecna.
And Hand of Vecna, we have not seen yet.
We haven't seen those.
Yeah.
But you create Vecna. Vecna is this lich god of magic, very, very powerful, and it's depending on how cheaply costed Eye of Vecna and Hand of Vecna are, this could be very strong, but until then, it's quite weak in comparison.
Yes, agreed.
So
I do like the thing that it gains all trigger abilities of exile cards. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Now, interesting enough, would that mean that if the Eye of Vecna and the Hand of Vecna have triggered abilities, would you be able to use them as well?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe that's the point too, because it is the eye and the hand. Maybe they have like weird abilities that once they're all exiled, it makes sense for the god to be able to have those abilities, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. And plus you can probably in Commander, I feel like you said, if the Eye of Vecna and the Hand of Vecna are not like 1,000 mana, like if they're like 1 or 2 mana and they're possibly on commons or commons, I'm pretty sure.
I'm thinking they're like the Eye of Vecna is 2 mana and the Hand of Vecna is like 4 mana or 3 mana.
Sure.
So a total investment of like 8 to 10 mana.
Yeah, makes sense.
In total to get an 8/8 black zombie god creature token with indestructible and all the triggered abilities.
Yeah.
I think that would be like worth it. But anything higher than that would be kind of disappointing.
Yeah. It's time to do Vecnatron. Assemble Vecnatron. That's what
I'm sure Seth is gonna do something with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about Ebon Death Dracolith.
So Ebon Death Dracolich is 2 black legendary creature zombie dragon. It has flash, flying. It enters tapped, and you can cast it if another creature died that's not named Ebon Death died this turn. So from your graveyard.
Yep.
This card is bonkers. This card is really good. Like really, really, really good.
Doesn't the 5/2 bother you? Because it bothers me.
No, it doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
I don't care about the 5/2. I'm attacking you with a 5/2, and then next turn I'm attacking you with a 5/2. Then the next turn I'm attacking with a 5/2.
It's just for standard. I'm talking about standard.
It's standard, yeah.
But we still have to deal with the fact that you have a shock, the giant shock, the dude from Eldraine. Like when I see a 2, like if this was 5/3, I'd be like, okay, that's great, awesome.
Just in case, you attack, and if you block it, your creature died. I can just still cast it again.
No, I get that. That's not my problem. My problem is that it's a 5/2. That's my.
There's no sorry. We haven't seen any shock yet. So.
But no, because we have the Eldraine shock. That's what I'm saying, and that thing's used everywhere. So like in my mind, when I see standard playable cards, I think of the creature as at least it has to have 3 toughness or up, or else in standard it's going to be very difficult to justify its existence. So when I see it be a 5/2. Even though, you can reanimate it a bunch of times.
It's just very recurable. That's what I'm thinking.
I guess so. Yeah, it's going to be very sticky. Like, if you have the excess mana, you're going to be always recasting. I don't know. It's just the 2 bothers me. Like, if it was a 3, I'll be all over this card.
Next set Eldraine rotates anyways.
Oh, yeah, true. Once we get to Innistrad, it's going to rotate. So that's true. We're going to deal with this for like a few more months. Let's talk about the Adult Gold Dragon.
I'm not a fan of this.
Yeah, me neither. So it's three colorless, Boros colors. It's a creature dragon, flying, lifelink, haste. People tell me that Adult Gold Dragon apparently is very important in D&D, and I don't think this reflects what it is. And when you think about all the dragons that are 5-costed that have shown up previously in standard, not even Boros colors, I'm just strictly talking about like red. Most of them have been way better than this. This is just like a puke of keywords, and they were done with it. They didn't think about much to do with this, and I feel like
So
it's very disappointing.
So
Yeah.
what I had that exact same thought. I was
Yeah.
thinking, okay, so basically, for three red used to have Sarkon the Dragon Speaker, which was a Planeswalker, but the main thing on him was that he turned into a 4/4 red dragon with haste.
Yep.
You had a Stormbreaker or a Stormbreaker dragon, which had protection from white and an additional ability other than flying and haste. You had
Yeah.
Thunderbreak Hellkite,
Yep.
or the Helma, the one that when it enters, it just deals 1 damage to each flying creatures and taps them. And that was a 5/5 mana 5/5.
Yep.
So this one being a 4/3 bothers me. Flying lifelink haste is okay. The lifelink is basically what gives it white.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it like a white card.
Yeah.
But the lore on how adult gold dragons are supposed to be a lot stronger is very much like an adult gold dragon, like anything. The only string, it's very strong and highly up there.
Yeah.
In terms of the dragons are like chromatic, so red, green, white, blue, and black,
Yeah.
or metallic.
Yeah.
And the strongest of them chromatic is the red dragon. The strongest of the metallic dragon is the gold dragon.
Okay.
So we're supposed to see like them to be at least similar in that sense.
Would you argue they should have had indestructible then?
No.
Okay.
It's
I'm just wondering because you say that it's strong.
At 5 mana, it's 5 mana 4/3 flying lifelink indestructible.
Sure.
No, that's
Well,
that's
skip the lifelink. Have it have indestructible.
No.
Okay.
I don't know how I would make this card stronger.
I wouldn't just puke keywords on it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I would think about how to make it more interesting in terms of having an extra maybe ETB, or when it attacks it does something, because it's competing with a lot of five slot dragons that do way better stuff than this for sure. That's what I'm saying. This one's just a puke of keywords that it's like, it's cool, you get to have lifelink, whatever, but you're right, it's not that great.
Going real quick for these cards. So there's a green dragon, a black dragon. There's a white dragon, a blue dragon. We haven't, and we did see a normal red dragon, and they're all uncommons.
Oh.
Their keyword is basically just their type of breath. So acid breath, poison breath. One has frost breath. One has lightning breath, and fire breath. And so in terms of that, it's flavorful. The mana cost is again giving me thoughts of the Khans of Tarkir block.
Yeah.
How there was a bunch of dragons in that set. Like that entire set was basically dragon based, and their costs are very reminiscent to that. And I feel their effects are also reminiscent to that.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're decently costed and flavorful for what they are.
Okay. Yeah, they're horribly costed in my opinion, because 7 mana for a 4/4, sure, it gives a -3/-3 when enters the battlefield. I don't love that.
They're uncommons.
They're uncommons. I get it. Yeah, I get it. Uncommon. That's why it's let us slide.
Not everything needs to be a strong.
Yeah,
but that's common. That's uncommon is strong.
The
Battle
uncommon,
Cry Goblin.
Definitely.
That's uncommon is strong.
Very strong.
One in a red for a creature. It's a Battle Cry Goblin. 1 in a red. It's a goblin. 2/2. You pay 1 in a red, and goblin creatures. It's a goblin you control. Get +1/+0 and haste. It has pact tactics, and when you attack, it makes goblins.
Yeah, definitely.
This
I
is
like
a strong card.
Yeah, this one I like a lot.
This might not be strong for standard because there's probably not that relevant to goblins.
Yeah, it's a problem.
But this is a strong card in Commander. This is like maybe not to the extent of modern, but
you know what?
A strong card.
Maybe.
You play this, make more goblins. I mean, Rabble Master already probably wins you the game.
But this does it for a mana cheaper, and you get to give everything haste.
Goblins is really fast.
Fair enough. Oh, we have a new challenger. Hi, Chris.
Hey guys.
Hey. Oh my God.
I see
I
you
can
talking
hear
about
myself,
dragons I'm angry about. Oh.
and I can't hear you.
Ah.
So get a headset, and come back here. Okay, so let's continue on. I want to talk about the dueling rep here for a second. It's cool because it's for one red you get to flash in this equipment, and it gives +2/+0, and it gets to instantly equip to something too, which I think it's pretty phenomenal. I don't know, it's kind of cool.
I feel like the
Um,
the equip cost, the normal equip cost is pretty overcosted.
Oh no, it's freaking horrifying. Like it's only good at the moment where you equip to the first creature. Everything else is freaking horrible. Equip 4 is freaking
Maybe if the
disgusting.
game goes grindy enough, then
Yeah, but no. I only like it because it's like 1 mana, equipped it to a creature, and it's a 2/0 and it has flash. That's the only thing I kind of dig about it. But yeah, no, equip 4 is horrible. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about. You want to talk about the
the
gelatinous thingy? It's cool because it's pretty flavorful.
I like the ooze.
Yeah.
So it basically just play a bunch of okay, ochre jelly. So X and a green creature ooze trample. It enters the battlefield with X counters. Split when it dies. If it had two or more counters,
Hmm.
no, if it had two more counters +1 counters, you create a token that's a copy of this at the beginning of the next end step with that with half that many. Yeah,
Yep.
with half
With
that
half that
many
many.
counters. So if you have a in theory, if you have a 10/10 ooze and that dies,
Yeah.
you make a 5/5 ooze.
Technically, if you split it, right? If I'm not mistaken, if you split an ooze, it should make 2, not 1.
Dies if it had two more +1.
And it
Create
only
a
makes
token.
1. It should
Yeah,
make 2 because you are
yeah,
splitting it, and it literally
no,
says split.
yeah, no, that's not how that
Right.
works.
Okay, I know it would be ridiculously unfair because
No,
it would
it's
just.
not. It's not because there's a four and a green. My Totix my Totix slime. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure it's called yeah, my Totix slime. 4 and a green for a 4/4. When it dies, you create two green oozes. When
Mhm.
those dies, you get four. Like you get 2/1/1.
So
So
there's precedent. There's been
yes,
a card that
precedent.
does this.
Yes,
Then why didn't they do that how you're supposed to do? Because I know oozes. I play Final Fantasy. I know if I kill an ooze, it'll split in 2. Like one of those jellies, they split in 2.
yeah,
So
yeah.
no. You should be making 2 of these, not 1. I don't need to be having doubling season here to justify this card doing what it's supposed to be doing naturally. Wizards, you failed. Flavor fail.
Actually, doubling season would make this card really stupid.
Oh yeah, it would be kind of ridiculous. Oh,
Wouldn't
like
you go
I paid.
infinite? Wouldn't you go infinite?
You would. Yes, you
Because
actually would.
you make a 5/5, but that five you make two 5/5s, and those 5/5s will be 10/10s.
Yep.
Then you make two 5/5s will be 10/10s, and you just go infinite.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, it would be kind of ridiculous. Oh my god. Yeah,
But this
definitely.
still goes infinite with doubling season.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I just wish it would make 2 tokens because when I read it, I was like, well, I guess it doesn't make 2 because there hasn't been a card that does that except
Nope.
for But if there's been a card that does it, then there's no reason.
Yeah,
So
my
I like it.
time was printed. This is Magic 2011.
Okay, let's talk about the right then. And Chris, I think, is set up now. Let me see.
At
Hello.
least I hope I'm set up. Like
You are better
can
now.
hear
Now
me?
you can be. Now you are allowed in the stream.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So
Cool.
this is white. One on the black. It's a creature zombie soldier. White enters the battlefield tapped. It has life drain. When it deals damage to whenever a creature dealt damage by whites is this turn dies, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token and exile that card.
Okay.
So being a 2 mana 3/2 that enters tapped bothers me.
Yeah. Agree.
It should be a 2 mana 3/3 because it enters tapped.
Yeah.
There's precedent for it.
True.
There's already creatures that are 2 mana 3/3s that enter tapped.
There's a lot
in
of
black.
zombies that if they do, there's a 1 mana 2/2.
There's a 1 mana
zombie.
2/2 that enters tapped.
Exactly.
Not to mention that like this set is going to standard, and in standard you have the instant card, which basically works like a lightning bolt against creatures when you have 3 snowlands, and like pretty much any deck that runs red snowlands runs the instant. So
Frostbite.
there's like no point in like making it a 3/2, like you guys said. Just make it a 3/3 because you can still take it out with the same spell. Like you might as well.
Yeah. Agree. That's what I'm telling you, JP. The whole thing about having 2 toughness bothers me in standard right now, because there's a lot of cards that deal with 2 toughness.
So
Mhm.
maybe
They-
Ebon Death isn't as good as I thought.
That's what I'm
Not just
saying.
that, I think it's really hindered by the fact that, like, it's a black card, and you pretty much assume, I suppose you can say, that if you have a deck that works with black, there is some form of graveyard interaction. And there is one of the what's it called? The lesson cards that deals 2 damage to everything on the battlefield, and it exiles whatever it kills. So like the
Ooh, yeah.
white is just,
Oh, okay. I didn't.
it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you just
Okay.
made this white a prime target for a spell like that. At a certain point, I would even dare say that if you're considering running any kind of zombie deck, unless you have a way to pump those zombies up, there's kind of no point in running something like the white that's just going to be exiled, like, by something
There is a lord in this set. There is a zombie lord.
in
so there is a
the
way to-
Forgotten Realm set.
Yeah. It's an
Actually, haven't
uncommon.
seen him yet.
It's not that great. It's just it pumps like skeletons and bats and freaking vampires,
And vampires.
zombies.
Yes, he just pumps up everything that's undead. Yes.
Exactly. So I guess there's a possibility you can make a zombie cheapo deck with it. But you are right. Like the 2 toughness, JP said it best. It should be 3/3, because if you're having 2 be costed 2 and it enters tapped, it should at least be a 3/3.
I remember an Ixalan 4/3.
You know what we needed? We
Like-
needed like one
Mm.
costed enters tap 3/2. That's what we needed. Big
No,
brain
no,
moves.
No,
You know
So
what?
it's
No,
okay.
I actually think it works, especially because we do have like those little like shock effects in standard. Like, you have like a million shocks.
Yeah. But come on, like, at least a
Doesn't
2
matter.
mana 3/3 I think is acceptable.
Make
But
standard fast as fuck, boy.
In Ixalan,
Yeah.
there was this 2 mana 4/3 that when it entered the battlefield, it gave your opponent 2 treasures. That may be a steep cost, but a 2 mana 4/3 is even more so a precedent for
Yeah.
cheap, heavy powered creatures.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is just a slight disappointment. The art is cool.
No, the art is beautiful.
Yes.
And all of these.
If there's one thing that I cannot complain about this set, is that all of the art for all of these damn cards is damn beautiful. Like, I honestly haven't had a complaint with any card art that I've seen so far,
Mhm.
and the flavor is there. Like,
Oh,
the
yeah, the
flavor is
flavor.
most definitely there. The only thing that I did mention before, and that you guys kind of went over, is the fact that I do still feel that the dragons of the set are a little underpowered, considering that, it's a Dungeons and Dragons set.
Mhm.
And usually, dragons in Dungeons and Dragons represent like these really powerful beings. I feel like some of that essence is kind of like, it's just
but
not
there's-
there, but I understand why. However.
There's precedent with Dragons of Tarkir making a lot of uncommon dragons. So if you look at that set, you understand why they are powered like that.
Yeah.
So you can have more dragons at different rarities. I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah. I do wish that the dragons that are like at Mythic, I think I've only seen one of the, if there is any more. I've only
There's a
seen
couple.
one Mythic dragon so far.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like, it has a really cool effect. It's the green dragon. I forget his name right now. It's like
Oh,
something
That's
Maw.
the best
Like,
one, actually.
We'll get to that one. We haven't talked
Yeah.
about that one.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
okay.
you missed Icing Death. The
that's
frost
the
white
blue
one?
dragon. It was an uncommon, correct?
No, the white mythic dragon.
Oh,
It's two white, like 2 white for a 4/3. Flying vigilance. When it dies, it creates an equipment that gives +2, taps a creature, and equip for 2.
Mhm.
Pretty decent. And then Ebon Death,
Ooh.
which is the 2 black for a 5/2. Enters the battlefield tapped. It has flash flying, and if another thing that other than him died, basically you can cast it.
Yes, I remember
from your
talking about
graveyard.
that one in the chat.
So we haven't talked about the green one yet. So
Okay.
Wish. I kind of want
Wish.
to talk about the
You make
Wish.
the wish.
Wish. It's both the flavor of DnD and the mechanical play of
Yeah. cute.
of Magic,
Not gonna lie, it's cute.
because it's a wish.
Yeah.
How wishes work in Magic the Gathering is you
Mhm.
take something from outside the game and put it into your hand.
Mhm.
Actually, in this case, you can you play the card. You have to actually play it that turn. And wish, as in you wish for something. The actual 9th level spell is one of is the one strongest spell in the entire game. So I really enjoy the flavor of this.
There's obviously a better wish card for now in Eldraine, but I guess once that rotates out, this could be our default wish card. If
I
you,
mean,
This was
I guess
called,
you're. I'm assuming by wish card you mean the Fae, right? Fae of wishes.
yeah, the Fae
Hmm.
wishes. Yeah.
this was talked about for legacy or vintage. You can crack Lion's Eye Diamond, add 3 red, and cast this wish for any of your win conditions in your sideboard, like if you're storming off. And one of the reasons you want this one
Fae.
instead of the Fae was I'm pretty sure that I remember there was a cost or like a counter like or so, I can't remember the exact spell, but there was like a counter to it at which this doesn't get a hit.
Okay.
So there was that.
Hmm.
Cool. I'm gonna skip over the Dragon Turtle because he's shit. There's a unicorn in the set. That's cool. Let's talk about Zariel, and then we'll talk about the other dude.
Zariel.
So
I
Zariel,
wasn't
Archduke-
expecting seeing Zariel, and I'm happy that they're there.
Well, you'll give me the backstory. So Zariel, Archduke of Avernus. He's a legendary planeswalker. He's 2 and 2 red for a planeswalker that has 4 loyalty. He has +1 reads. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn, which is pretty good. For 0, you get to create a devil, a 1/1 little devil that when it dies, it'll deal 1 damage to any target. And then -6, you get an emblem that at the end of the first combat phase of your turn, untap target creature you control. After this phase, there's an additional phase. So it's a fixed. How do you call this card? It's a fixed aggressive. What's the name of that enchantment? I forgot the enchantment. Totally forgot the enchantment.
Yeah, I can't remember what enchantment you're referring
Aggressive,
to.
aggressive assault. Aggressive assault, I think.
I can't
I think it's
remember
called
the name
aggressive
of it
assault. Yeah.
Aggravated assault.
Aggravated assault. Thank you.
now.
So it's a very fixed aggravated assault, but it's on an emblem, so it's pretty good because you can't interact with it. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I'm not a fan of this.
Okay, go ahead.
You're what?
So
He's not a fan.
in terms of cube thinking, there's just better planeswalkers because I just go back to Chandra, Fire of Kaldash.
Mhm.
Yes.
It was just way too strong for abilities.
Yeah.
Just making a 1/1 isn't as good. Going to other 4 mana and red planeswalkers. Coth of the Hammer makes one of your lands into a 4/4. It can basically double your mana if you're mono red, and it has a game ending ult. This does not have a game ending ult because you could still be foiled because you could just not have creatures. Then then you just kind of lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that you can't even there isn't any ability that +1s it to set up anything or anything like that. So it's literally just either you keep it at 4 and you try to hope that your little devil can hold out against whatever your opponent is putting down, or wait until you have creatures. There's just really not a lot to do with it. I guess some Gruul decks could possibly benefit from this, but
The other reason I don't like it is because it contends with the 4 mana slot for the land. We were talking about of the Cave of the
definitely.
Bugbear. So there's another reason.
Yeah, no. I agree. You know what? Maybe if they would have switched the first and the second loyalties, like meaning that the 0 cost made your creatures control get +1/+0 gain haste, and then the +1 made a devil. You'll be plussing and make it a little devil, so you can get to your emblem quicker. Like maybe they did a little flipperoni.
Yeah, I would appreciate that actually.
That would have been
totally agree.
But yeah, it's cool. He looks cool. I guess he looks like a little evil vampire man.
He is a devil, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Zariel. I always kind of mix up the lore a little bit when it comes to the hells.
I'm pretty sure. I think so. It's a devil.
Yes. Zariel, if I'm not mistaken, was a devil. I forgot what their beef was, because I remember that fairly recently, Wizards of the Coast published the adventure in Avernus. I can't remember what the name was right now. There was an adventure that was taking place in Avernus, and it had Zariel on the
Ascent
cover of
into
the book.
Avernus, yeah.
Yes.
Which is also very much the Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
That's also basically
I left the
the.
stream, but it's cool. I'm back.
Okay,
I
yeah.
literally didn't notice. I started talking about the card, and I
Solid.
was like, "Why is no one talking about the card with me?" Anyways, I put Oswald Fiddlebender. I'll go back and explain it.
I love him.
Yeah, it's gonna go in my Oscar deck. Obviously, JP has also an Oscar deck, which he's gonna put it in that deck.
Oswald Fiddlebender.
Yes, it is one colorless and one white for a Gnome Artificer. You get to tap a white, and you tap the creature, and then you sacrifice an artifact. You search your library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus that sacrifice artifact's mana value. You put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery because Wizards hates me. It is a 2/2.
Wizards just hates the color white. It's like the same thing that I told you like earlier. It's like, why is Wizards afraid
actually,
of making white good?
Okay, I feel like the activate as only as a sorcery isn't there because he's white. It's there because he's a birthing pod for white for artifacts.
It's a
and birthing pod does say activate only as a sorcery,
See,
and that's
no,
mostly because it can be very, very broken otherwise.
Yeah, I get it.
The problem with this card for me is that it's in mono white. I really
creature?
appreciate that's in mono white. I don't mind it's a creature.
Okay.
In fact, something in to an extent, I appreciate that's a creature. That's a creature because it could be a commander.
True.
This as a commander is I as soon as I saw it said sacrifice, I was like mono white sacrifice artifacts. I try to make it.
Build.
I try to like formulate like a build or how this would be made. There just isn't that many good stuff in.
I just feel like
I'd
I'd rather play like SRAM. What's his
SRAM,
his
yeah.
name? Yeah.
That's exactly what I
definitely,
thought. Just play SRAM or if this were blue white, I would be so happy. I would be ecstatic.
Yes.
I'll be
I've
so
been looking for a
so
blue
happy.
white commander to build around for like artifact base for so long, just because we have Dance of the Manse in blue white.
True.
So, but otherwise, in other colors, this is fine. When you mentioned Osgir, and in my Osgir, I love this card, but I have no idea if this even like properly fits there.
Oh yeah, I will find a way to fit this card in. No problem.
Just
It's a birthing pod in artifact form.
I don't think I have many artifacts that cost 4.
Okay, fair enough.
So because the reason I used to run as I had birthing pod in Safi, Eric's daughter, so that's a white green, and I built the deck in a certain way where you had something for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 7, and then up to 8 with Craterhoof Behemoth. And that's basically you win the game.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't think I have many things that have 4 mana. So if anything, I really can't think of anything directly that has 4 mana and that would work.
I mean, you have Mystic Forge.
Mystic, that's one. That's one.
Yeah, like Mystic Forge is a great
good
4-drop
one.
for artifacts.
It's a good one too.
That's about it. That's the only one I can.
I like it. I like it.
I like it. I like it. I just wish
feel-
it had an additional color.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there's also a trading post.
I don't run trading posts.
I think I do, right?
Understandable.
I don't remember. I was in a chat talking about the spoiler cards, and there was this guy that they released this card, right? And they were talking about how good it is because it's birthing pod for artifacts, and it's not a creature, but whatever, and it's white. And the guy's like, "Oh, see," and then people are like bitching and moaning that white doesn't get good cards. I'm like, just because they got this and like another good white card, which was the phasing out card.
Yeah.
It does not mean that white is getting good cards. And then I made like a joke telling him that basically he's like Oliver Twist, where he's like, "Please, sir, may I have some more?" Because he's trying to justify Wizards screwing over white just because they give you like 1 to 2 good cards per set. And that shouldn't be the case. It's ridiculous that there's some people with the mentality of like, oh, it's the community, they're bitching and moaning that, Wizard is obviously giving white great cards that are used in extended play. And I'm like, I mean, I guess fine, you're not completely wrong. They are used in extended play, but they're few and far between, and we shouldn't allow Wizards to be off the hook because of their poor design space and how they're dealing with white. Like, this is a good step, and there's always good steps every set. But for every good, card like this one, there's like 10 awful ones in white.
And also, or 10 even better ones, but in other colors.
Exactly. And you're like, come on, how can you justify this? And it's ridiculous that there's actual people who think, oh, no, it's fine how Wizards is handling the white color. I don't understand how you could even make that argument. It's ridiculous. He tried, and I'm like, you're just a dumb. Like, I don't really don't get it. How you can be like, oh, it's fine because they gave me a card that does phasing. Oh, it's white. It's like, oh, it's you stupid idiot. Okay.
Like, oh no, like white has this one good thing, yeah, but what about all the other bad things?
Exactly. It's like literally green has everything. Like, green draws all the time. I don't remember the last time blue drew a card. I swear. Green draws more than blue now. It's kind of ridiculous.
That card.
I don't.
Yeah.
The Yuan-Ti?
So the Yuan-Ti Malazon is one on the blue. It's a creature snake rogue. When it attacks, it can be blocked as long as it's attacking alone. And when it deals combat damage, you venture into the dungeon.
Sure.
This is basically like one of the best venture into dungeon cards, and that's kind of sad that is the case.
Yeah.
So
you know what? It should have been more pushy. Should have just said unblockable. I mean, might as well. Make it a 1/1
unblockable adventures.
I agree.
Yeah.
For 2 mana. Sure. Yep. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that decision. Because doing the whole thing about, it can't be blocked, it's just, again, this literally shows you the fear. It can't be blocked as long as it's attacking low, because they know
it would have
they
been
just
hella
looked
cool.
unblockable on it. They made it a 1/1, and you had a bunch of these snakes attacking in one turn. Then you could venture a bunch in a single battle phase, and then it's insane because you're venturing so much. Come on, man, Wizards, please. It's okay. It's fine. Let us play with your
realistically, other than like there out of the 3 dungeons, is there any of them that you think would be like too broken if you could just venture it like multiple times?
The one that I Mad Mage.
Yeah, the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, I think, is a broken one. Yeah,
but it's 7 rooms.
So
it's 7 rooms.
Exactly.
So if you could delve into the dungeon several times per turn. Like, let's say you go 4 in 1 turn. That's a lot of venturing. That's a lot of effects, and that's a lot of value.
Yeah.
But they still played it too safe.
You still gotta, like, at the end of the day, for you to get to that last effect, you still gotta venture 7 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's still pretty ridiculous considering that, like, how limited we are in like with all the venture cards.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I like really did believe, like, with all my heart and soul, that Wizards was gonna take this chance with their collaboration with Dungeons and Dragons to like push a really cool mechanic. But as usual, every time I expect something nice of Wizards, I'm wrong.
Yeah, it is what it is. I wanted to talk about this card. You find a cursed idol, because the modal abilities of what this brings, and of course it's green, and of course it's broken. It's a sorcery speed, thank God, but it's a colorless and a green, and you get to either smash it, you can destroy an artifact, you get to lift the curse, you can destroy the enchantment, or you can steal its eyes, and you can create a treasure token, so it half replaces itself, and you get to venture into a dungeon.
Yeah.
This thing is insane. This is the one that I was talking to you about, JP.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is gonna be in all the sideboards. You literally need nothing else. This is the best thing that you have in terms of removal for green.
Most expensive common you're gonna spot in the set.
And at worst, it just replaces itself. It half replaces itself, so you venture.
I mean, like at worst, you venture and ramp.
Yeah.
Which is just still ramping 1. But
you're still ramping
in green, which as if green needed any more ramp than standard,
Meteor Swarm.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's horrible, but sure.
That's
Meteor
why.
Swarm.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's a rare slot.
Why?
Yeah, it's so bad.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they were afraid of making Fireball? I don't know.
Even for our listeners, I'm not gonna even give you just if you really wanna know, just look at the card and you'll understand. Just why
it's really awful. It's an awful card. It should have just been Fireball, but better because
just tell them the mana cost. The mana cost will tell you everything.
X red.
Yeah, and it doesn't. You don't pay X for the damage, just so you know.
Yeah, it's bad.
Which is the sad part, actually. Yeah, no, it's pretty awful. It's a rare
Like,
slot.
the only way they could have possibly made that okay is if maybe, like, I don't know, X was like the amount of targets, but you deal 8 to each target or something. I don't know.
No.
Like, there's just
Ooh.
nothing.
So let's talk about literally one of the worst lands ever printed on Magic the Gathering. So Dungeon Descent. It is a rare land. A Dungeon Descent enters the battlefield tapped. So if it enters tapped, you must be assuming it does great things. Well, we'll see. You get to tap it to add colorless, so it doesn't even give you the benefit of giving you colored mana, but sure, whatever. And for 4 and tapping it, you get to tap and untap legendary creature you control, and then you venture into a dungeon. This exemplifies. I'm just gonna go quick. This just exemplifies the total fear of trying to make sure they don't push any new mechanics they bring to the table. This is literal fear. Like the way that they put you through so many hoops for you to venture into a dungeon with a land just goes to show you the horrifying fear, because this is comparable to like the worst lands ever printed in Magic. Easily.
Do you think that some of this like fear over pushing new cards and new mechanics may come from the slip up they had with Throne of Eldraine
And
in terms of power level?
I guess it's no, that's totally understandable, and I get it, but come on, this is too much.
So,
like, yeah,
you mentioned 50. We were talking about 50-foot rope earlier.
Yeah.
And this is a land. So this is 4 mana tap. So that's 4 lands.
Mm-hmm.
You need to tap a legendary creature, and then tap this land. So it's 5 mana in theory. 5 mana.
Yep.
You lose a creature once. You lose a blocker to venture once as a sorcery.
Yep.
Is there even a way to like venture as an instant, like in standard at all right now?
No. There's only one card, and that's the legendary creatures for the commander sets.
Yes.
So, anyways, the 50-foot rope is like 1 mana, so you can have it as early as turn 1, and then it's just 4 mana tap and activate this. So you don't lose a creature, you don't use 5 lands. It's just 4 mana.
Yep.
And even that has other modal abilities.
It comes down for 1, which is really helpful, especially in like the mid-range environment, given I'm out on standard too.
If this land added 1 mana of any color, it would be better, but it would still be bad.
Oh yeah. And it enters tapped just to add insult to injury. Like I remember when they released Zendikar, right? The new Zendikar block that came out a few sets ago. And they released a party mechanic. And their rare land, the one that benefits party, it also enters tapped.
It at least gave you colored mana, right?
Sure, thank Christ. Yeah. But the thing about it was, I'm like, did you guys see your party mechanic? It's not broken. You don't need to make this land enter tap. Like, you're not gonna break standard with party. Like you know what you created with party. You saw your other cards. There's like maybe 2 of them. They're pretty good in a party deck, but that's kind of about it. Everyone else is kind of like you're jumping through hoops to make party decent, and you can't even give me the courtesy of making the land come untapped. And like watching this, it's like even worse. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's truly insane. It just exemplifies. This truly exemplifies the fear the wizard has.
Just taking this venture into the dungeon mechanic, how we understand how weak it is, because how the design space is overcosted and all the cards are basically way too expensive.
Yeah.
When you see the last 2 sets, you see Kaldheim. And you see Strixhaven, they had decent mechanics that are pretty decently costed. So I'm surprised that this is just so overcosted. Because Boast is pretty decent in terms of mana cost. 2 mana, 3 mana, 1 mana, and the learn mechanic is just happens. Yeah. And in fact, the learn mechanic you can get even a redraw, so it has options.
I think the problem with Boast though is that I just have not seen a lot of Boast in standard, which it's a little bit disappointing.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't even say that it's not that I haven't seen a lot of it, is that I barely see it at all. And when I do see it, it tends to be on creatures that just don't have the time to boast. Like
Okay.
you either decide that you're going to wipe the board next turn because after dropping the boast creature, which you just kind of see as like a meh, like they'll drop like a bomb right after that, or they'll just kind of like draw into something that like interacts with the boast. So I feel like maybe it's not that it's not being used, it's just definitely that there's just not a lot of space to use it unless you're like winning. It just feels like a win more kind of thing because of how the cards are designed or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the
Oh,
varies.
by the way, did you guys talk about the werewolf? I mean, it doesn't do anything like amazing. I just like to point out that the
We
werewolf.
love the werewolf.
We love the
we-
werewolf.
Yeah, the
We already
werewolf
talked about it.
aggressively
Yeah.
costed, and we feel like it's gonna be very standard playable. To be
Yeah,
fair.
no, I really like
100%.
it because of the fact that we have that Innistrad set coming up.
Oh yeah.
So
it's
I'm
gonna,
not if I'm I don't know. Do the vampire and the
Mhm.
werewolf sets come out at the same time, or are they going to do
Yes.
like different releases for?
No, no,
Okay,
No, it's at the same time.
all right. So that's definitely going to be super fun. I just like to see stuff that like can potentially interact with not super with future sets.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. Okay, so Varys Silvery Moon Ranger. It's a colorless and a green for a human elf ranger legendary creature. It has reach and has ward 1. Whenever you cast a creature or a planeswalker spell, you venture into the dungeon. This ability triggers only once each turn. And whenever you complete a dungeon, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token, and it is a 3/3. I like it. It's pretty cool.
A lot of people just talking about how you could use Yavon, Nature's Herald, and stuff like the Orrery to cast your creatures with Flash and try to trigger Venture Dungeon every turn.
Yeah.
But that's just trying to jump through hoops to try to make the Venture mechanic even.
Try to just make it work in the first
Yeah,
place.
just make it exactly.
Exactly.
It's like
yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, because this is the one that doesn't say anything about sorcery speed. It just says that once each turn. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that the problem, like one of the huge problems with it, is that it's the kind of card that you look at and like, oh, if only it didn't say you could only do it once each turn, so you didn't have to jump through all the hoops. But the problem is that I feel like if they did that, they would have had to pretty much do like an improvement on all the other cards they've done with it, because then people are going to be like, oh no, this is like too OP or something. And
Yeah, because it would skew so
find
much.
a way to complain about it as well.
Because people would just skew and use Varys all the time. Like if you did like an elf ball, for example, like this thing was not limited to once each turn. You can just do elf ball with this. Just be vomiting elves all the time, and then you venture into a dungeon in like one turn. Like it would be kind of insane. So I guess that's why it's limited to like once a turn. This dude? Okay.
Yeah. I'm actually sorry. So 7/3 trample, 3 red. It's Zalto Fire Giant Duke. So legendary creature, giant barbarian. Whenever he is dealt damage, you venture into the dungeon.
Okay.
This one, if you make him like in Commander, you make him indestructible. You can potentially potentially finish a dungeon in one turn super easily.
Yeah.
The 7/3 does hurt. There is no other ways to protect him in red properly.
There's no ways to protect them. If I at least had haste, it'd be kind of nice.
But like not having the restriction is basically what the reason I'm talking about this card. Otherwise, I would just skip it.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this card.
I mean, there are some fun interactions if you run like some rule stuff and like Commander. I guess you can try to like give it indestructible until the end of the turn and use something like similar to like an enrage mechanic. I think it was like a card that like if you got it enraged, it would just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it could work with something like that, but that's all I can really think of where it would be useful.
Okay. Froghemoth. Sorry.
Froghemoth, yeah.
Yeah, so 3 colorless, 2 green. It's a creature, frog horror.
Of course, he's green. Green trample haste creature because of course that's exactly what green needs.
Yeah. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many cards from their graveyard. Put a 1/1 counter on Froghemoth for each creature exiled this way, and then you gain 1 life for each non-creature card exiled this way. And it is a 4/4.
Yeah, this card, I have no idea why the Tarrasque is so bad when this card's just so good, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You literally could
comparison.
just switch this one with the Tarask, and it would have been like better.
Yeah.
But alas, the Wizards design space sometimes eludes me.
Yeah, I agree. I think for now it's competing in five mana slots with other creatures, and it
But
is a tad weaker for
but it
now.
but it has the potential to be a
To
lot
grow.
stronger.
Yeah, for now.
To grow, it get just the fact that it gains you life, I think, is really relevant in a format
sure.
like Standard.
No, yeah. I'm just saying for now it's not
Mhm.
probably going to see a lot of play, but once stuff rotates out,
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be heavily
I
played.
think that like either way, the what's the name of that the other like big creature? He's like a 6/6. He comes down for 5. He has like vigilance and reach.
Yeah, and
There's some
he
stuff like
makes
that. I forget his name.
tokens and stuff.
Yeah, like whenever he blocks you, either make a token, draw a card, or gain 3 life. Like
That's
definitely
the one you're
Froghemoth.
competing for. Yeah.
Like Froghemoth is not by any means going to substitute that creature,
Yeah, exactly.
but I do still think it's a really nice card.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it's competing with other better stuff for now, but if
Mhm.
stuff rotates out, it could be a possibility.
I think everyone's
Right.
talked about Xanathar at this point too.
Yeah, we already talked about him.
Oh, cool.
Triumphant Adventurer. He's a 1/1 for 2. He has Death Touch. If it's your turn, he has First Strike. So you get to kill stuff first, and when you attack, you venture into a dungeon. I like the little the artwork is cool.
Yes.
Like chilling,
Mm.
getting all the treasure and shit. Let's talk about dungeon map because it just continues the whole thing about how the land is so horrifyingly bad. Because this is a 3 mana rock, like your standard 3 mana colorless mana rock that you would use in your crappy non-overpowered commander decks. But for 3, you get to venture into a dungeon and you can only activate this as sorcery. So even this one is strictly better than your stupid land.
You could even
Even
just if you're running like a super janky deck, you could even just run that thing on its own and it's still fine.
Yeah,
Better than running the land.
even that stupid mana rock is better than the land.
You know what's kind of
ridiculous it
sad?
is.
I think that the land was probably done with something like Commander in mind, in which, oh yeah, since you play your Commander, you're like going to have a legendary creature, so you just, you tap your
Yeah.
Commander, but it's
At sorcery speed, so you get screwed over when you venture into a dungeon.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and maybe that was the thought logic behind it, but I still feel like it's
I
ridiculous.
don't know. Maybe if you could tap for 3, I guess that would like excuse it. But
I mean, I don't care about flavor, but I found this one funny. The +2 maze, like
It's literally just +2. Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
speaks for itself.
Now I will say the equip 3 bothers me. It should have been equipped 2.
It's a common.
No. But I'm just saying in terms of like
Like the
symmetry.
flavor.
going.
2
And
mana,
symmetry?
2/2, then
Yeah.
equip 2.
Yeah. Like equip 3 bothers me a little bit when I see it with my eyeballs.
I can see
This
that.
one's interesting to talk about because it plays with the dice mechanic a little bit. So it's 2 colorless, and is it colors for legendary creature? Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, Faraday chosen by the devils gains menace and flying
Faraday.
run of turn. If any of those dice rolls are 10 or more, draw a card. It's a 3/3. It's cool. There's better cards that function with that dice mechanic, but it's just interesting to point out a little bit. There's a bunch of dice cards. There's a spike trap, where you deal damage to a creature, you deal damage and get a treasure token. Let's talk about the instrument of the bards, which is very
Okay,
strong.
so I was wrong about my speculation. It's not a specific instrument. It's just the instruments.
I know.
So it's just instruments of the bards.
I told
Okay.
you last time it was gonna be a harp.
So it's just in general. I actually think this card is bad.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's okay. Let's read it. It's 1 green. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a harmony counter on Instrument of the Bards.
Mhm.
3 and a green to tap it. Search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to the number of harmony counters on Instrument of the Bards. Reveal it and put it into your hand.
Mhm.
If that card is legendary, create a treasure token. Then shuffle your library.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It
So,
doesn't put it in play.
so I thought it would be, put it into play.
Yeah.
It would be reminiscent to Yisan, the Wanderer Bard.
Yeah.
It would have been super flavorful to even put this in a Yisan deck. I mean, you still could, but the fact is 4 mana put a creature in like 4 mana tutor in green. When we've seen green get so many broken stuff and tutor, I'm just kind of surprised that this is so bad in comparison to like ecological research.
Yeah.
I mean,
wouldn't
we just sit here and complain about how green is too OP if that were the case again?
Yes, but also it's still 4 mana, and you still like if you have no like you play this late game, no harmony counters, you have to pass the turn.
Yeah.
And the next turn it's 1 harmony counter, so you can 4 mana for a 1 mana cost.
Yeah.
Then the next turn 4 mana for a 2 mana cost.
I think you probably would have been better off if they just gave it the same effect as like that one. Well, actually, never mind. He works backwards. Actually, it's because I forget his name, but he's a creature. He comes down for 4. Then you pay 1 and tap him, and you can put a creature from your hand onto the battlefield. So in terms of like in my opinion at least, in terms of functionality,
Elvish Piper
is kind of better.
Yeah.
Yes, Elvish Piper. Like in terms of functionality, I think even Elvish Piper is just kind of better than Instrument of the Bards. It sucks that it comes down for 4, but at least you don't have like the whole like harmony counter thing going on. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
It's good for commander, for sure, because you like play a turn 1.
I feel like it's too slow for commander.
I mean, if you play a turn 1, I think it's fine.
Yes,
to be honest,
but otherwise it's slow. Otherwise, other than turn 1, it's always gonna be like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. By turn 4, it's just too slow.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna pay 4 mana to look for a 1-drop.
That's fair. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You could argue that you're in green. You could probably get the mana, but like I'd rather just spend my mana more effectively somewhere else.
Look at it this way: it's something else Atraxa can abuse.
You passed Orcus.
Oh, okay.
Orcus.
So people in the cube community were talking about this card, how it's overcosted for what it could have been, but it's interesting design space for Rakdos because it's a modal and a creature, and that's not that common. Other than the flying trample, if it had instead of trample, it had haste or flying trample haste, and the other modal abilities were weaker, then it would be a slam dunk because it would be very aggressive at 4 mana just as a base. But because it doesn't have haste, it suffers. And the other abilities, because it's an X, you need to at least go like 6 mana on 6 mana on total in the X
to be relevant, really.
To even relevant as towards other stuff. It loses you life. Like it's like the design space was there, but
I think that's probably the worst part about it to me personally. The fact that you got to lose life, like you're casting this huge freaking spell, and you're just gonna do a board wipe, have a 5/3, and lose a bunch of life.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I just don't think that there's like enough value, I suppose.
At 7 mana in total, it's a like -3/-3, which deals with a lot of creatures, but a 5/3 trample, -3/-3 to all other creatures. That's it. It doesn't swing in. For being like Orcus, Prince of Undeath, the actual like this we were theorizing that this was gonna be one of the really strong creatures. Because again, his weapon kills gods, you know. Although it is signified that the negative because gods are usually indestructible and negative goes through that. So I guess he like flavor wise it is there. It's just not as strong in comparison to the flavor
as it should be. I do like the second modal ability though. I do think that is definitely But I do feel like the second modal ability is definitely really good for standard. Especially
it's too overcosted.
Like yes, I do agree, but on the other hand, I feel like a lot of standard decks are really planning a lot for like late game. Like standard games now, like at least the games I've played have just take too long.
Okay.
And your deck needs to be able, like, with the exception of mono red, which is obviously just super freaking aggro. Like most of your decks need to be able to last long enough because almost everything that's in the meta, at least from what I saw in the latest tournaments that they were doing, is for the most part, mid-range, and it's like looking to go into late game. So you need to have a deck that can win in the late game if the game gets there. And I think that that Rakdos card, I forget his name again, Orcus, is definitely one of those cards that can help out a Rakdos deck or anything that just might be splashing the black just to be able to cast them and get like a bunch of stuff out of your graveyard into the battlefield. I think it's great.
At worst, I'm thinking you can pay 6 mana in total, bring back Kroxa from the graveyard to play.
Ooh.
They lose and then Kroxa plus that, then Kroxa dies, but then you still have the 5/3. And it's mostly because Kroxa is strong, not because of Orcus.
Yeah.
Okay, going next is Volo, Guide to Monsters. 2 green and a blue legendary creature human wizard. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. So this is anti-tribal. It was really funny to see people in the EDH subreddit figure out, oh yeah, you could play Birds of Paradise and still play another elf. But then you can play the Sylvan Caryatid, and that's a plant. And you can play it's very menagerie, very random, different creatures, and the design space is really fun because there's an entire book on D&D about him just another monsters manual. It's just
Volo's Guide to Monsters, which is exactly why I thought his name was funny in general, because it's just the perfect callback to the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig it. It's like you said, anti-tribal. I feel like this is the type of guy that you buy him, like you buy the card, right? And then you kind of stick your leftovers in Commander, the cards that you don't use,
and it just happens to work.
Exactly
it just happens to work.
Actually.
Yeah, it's just you have a bunch of boxes, right, with uncommons and commons of those colors, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna stick them in and just have a deck, just a little deck that just.
The funny part is that it just works because, I guess that it's really easy to underestimate the fact that you're just, oh yeah, you created a copy of Birds of Paradise, you ramp, that's nice and all, but then next thing you know, you're just creating copies of a bunch of trash creatures that just start stacking up each turn after you put down Volo. It's great. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's very funny. I like it. I like the idea of having anti-tribal. It's not the most powerful commander or anything, but it opens up.
It's just fun, which is
space.
what Commander is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
Also, interesting design space as it's not just draw a card and play a land because you're in blue-green.
Exactly.
Oh yes, let's trash on the deck of many things.
I agree. Let's trash on it for a while.
It's not chaotic enough.
It is definitely not chaotic enough.
It's overcosted.
It's not that good. Yeah, so it's a legendary artifact for 5. You pay 2 when you tap it, roll a d20, and subtract the number of cards in your hand. If the result is 0 or less, discard your hand. 1 to 9, you return a card at random from your graveyard to your hand. 10 to 19, you draw 2 cards. And if you roll basically a nat 20, and you basically have to have no hand, you put a creature card from any graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. When this creature dies, its owner loses the game. Obviously, you don't want to revive your own creatures because then you'll lose the game yourself. You want to ideally get someone else's creatures. Yeah, I saw this, and I don't know anything about the deck of many things. So I saw it, so yeah, explain.
The deck of many things is this deck of cards. There's variable numbers towards it, but basically, it's one of the most powerful items in the game, mostly because it just does absolutely random things. There's one card you could get 3 wishes. There's 3 wishes, 3 9th level spells. Yeah, you just get them. There's another one that summons an Avatar of Death as just a copy of you to fight your basic, in terms of health, it's basically you. It has its own stats, but in terms of health and other stuff, it's you. You could have a void and you just lose your soul and you just basically die. It's just insta death. There's another one that you can just create a knight, and you have an NPC with you now forever. And
isn't there one that creates a dungeon as well?
There's another. Yeah, there's another one that just creates a dungeon.
Yeah, it creates like a stronghold that you're supposed to take over, and once you like take over the stronghold, like it's yours to keep or whatever. Like it's a stronghold that's like for you to keep, but it's full of monsters, and you got to clear it out.
Yeah, it's like it's just random. It's just a lot of random effects that are very, very, very strong, and this just doesn't exemplify that.
No, it definitely doesn't. Now that you explain it to me, it definitely doesn't. There's many ways it could have been done better. Like I like the 20 effect. It's fine. Like it's a way to end the game, and it feels good with this. But everything else, like really 10 to 19, draw 2 cards. It's so uninspired. It's weird.
I think
Like,
all the effects are pretty uninspired, especially that 1 through 9. Just return a
yeah, for sure. That's
a
the one I hate
random
the
card
most.
from the graveyard to your hand. It's
well,
like,
but if you say that it just does random effects, putting a random card for your graveyard to your hand, I
yes,
guess,
but it would have been nice if that was just either add more effects or make those 3 effects much more impactful in the
Agree.
game, or at least the
Mythic.
first 2.
agree as well.
Exactly.
It's a mythic.
You know what?
That's the
I
problem.
would have preferred not to have the deck of many things in a black border set and just have it in an unset in which they did like the thing they did with like the Urza Planeswalker, where you had to like go to a website and load the thing or just roll a d20 to get an effect.
Yeah, I agree.
I would have had much more fun with that than have this be my representation of the deck of many things. Like the Urza Planeswalker is a better representation of the deck of many things than the card, the deck of many things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's quickly talk about Pixie Guy just for a second because it just
He's a
says
fairy.
because if you will roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus 1 and ignore the lowest roll. So basically, it's
the
a
ability.
the ability. It's basically the finger thing.
Yeah, no, and like the ability is just really flavorful because if you're not already familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, it's like grant advantage. Whenever you get advantage, you're supposed to roll like two d20s, and you're supposed to choose the highest roll.
Okay. Oh, and they stack because it's not limited to 1. So you have more Pixie Guy, you go nuts.
So another further up, we'll see one of the enchantments, and one of them lets you roll an additional dice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Let's go.
So
Talk about Gretchen for a second.
Uninspired mythic. Oh, you can draw a land and place draw a card and place a land. Woohoo!
People were
That's not even
talking
a
about.
mythic; it's a freaking uncommon.
People were talking about how this card basically is fixed Thrasios. And I guess I agree because it is fixed Thrasios. It's fair Thrasios. So if you want to make a fair Thrasios deck that people won't hate you, I guess you can use Gretchen. But it's like JP said, this is becoming like a thing where they make this Simic uncommon and basically they all give them Explore for a bunch of mana. They all just do Explore.
It's growth spiral on a stick. Repeatable growth spiral on a stick. And it does it again and again and again and again and again.
Cool downshift. Bag of Holding.
Yes, it's
rare.
It's now an uncommon. Proper uncommon, yeah.
So Wizard Spellbook.
I don't want to talk about that.
I'll talk about it. I don't like it that much, but
I don't like it at all.
It's 5 colorless, 2 blue. You exile an instant sorcery from a graveyard, roll d20, activate only as a sorcery, of course. 1 to 9 copy. These are like the weakest wizards of all, by the way. Like if you're doing this at sorcery speed, you're not a good wizard. Let's go. Let's just start with that.
He's a level 1 wizard, man.
He definitely is a level 1 wizard, clearly. So 1 through 9, you copy that card, you may cast the copy. 10 to 19, you copy that card, you may cast the copy by paying 1 rather than paying its mana cost, so slightly better. And then at 20, copy each card exiled with Wizard Spellbook, you may cast any number of the copies without paying its mana cost. So, in EDH, in a spell slinging deck, in an Izzet deck, you could probably stick this in. If it's like low tier or mid tier EDH deck, you could probably stick this deck in. And if you get lucky and roll a nat 20, if you roll a nat 20, you're going to be like bonkers going insane. Beyond that,
I mean, not even though, because if you think about it, first off, every time you like tap, you only exile 1 card.
Yeah, and
you get a nat 20 right then.
Exactly, like you're screwed. If you get a 20, like a nat 20 back, there's just no point.
Yeah, true.
You have to almost, even though of course a nat 20 is definitely not common because it's literally like a 1 in 20 or 1 in 21 chance, like statistically.
5%.
Yeah, it's like a 5% chance for you to actually roll that nat 20, and I get that. But at a cost of 7 mana, it feels like they costed this card in base of its nat 20 effect.
Yeah. It is. Yeah,
which again isn't even all that useful if you get it in like the first go. Or even if you only exile, let's say you just exiled like 2 instants or sorceries, like what are you gonna do with like, unless they're really strong, what are you gonna do with just 2 instants or sorceries that you're casting off of your wizard spellbook? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's true. It's not that amazing. I personally would never play this because I don't like janky shit. But it's like if you have like a cute Izzet deck with like low power cards, because it says cards exile with it. So if you exile a few cards, you're doing that every turn, even though it's sorcery speed, which is freaking horrible. There's might be something there for, I don't know. Anyways, let's talk about this broken piece of
Demi-Lich.
crap.
I think
this is
it's a really
broke.
fun card. I like it.
It's a broke piece of shit. I wouldn't play it because I don't like the fact that you need to attack with it. That's my problem with it. But everything else about this card is amazing. So Demi-Lich, it's 4 blue. Demi-Lich, I'm sorry. 4 blue, so it's blue. For a creature skeleton wizard, this spell costs 1 blue less to cast for each instant sorcery you cast in this turn. So if you're like storming off, this could literally be for free. Whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 target instant sorcery card from your graveyard, copy it. You may cast that copy. And then you may cast this card from your graveyard by exiling 4 instant sorceries and from your graveyard, in addition to paying its other cost. It is a 4/3. There is a card similar to this in Legacy that's already being played heavily. It's a Delver card that you get to delve away cards, and those cards get put on the card, and when you attack with it, you get to copy the instant sorcery. I forgot the name of that card. It's played in
Actually
EDH.
was not aware of it, and now I want it.
Yeah, it's an EDH card. I think I got it because I think it was in the Ikoria set, in the Ikoria Commander decks, and it is heavily played in Legacy because it's very strong. I don't think this is as strong as that one, but
it's as close as we'll get for in standard.
It is, agree. Yeah. Very much agree. This is comparable to saying, Arc-Light Phoenix, because you get to reanimate it. Its ability of like copying spells when it attacks, the possibility of casting this for free, like it has a lot of upside. I think
the whole copy thing is really what's gonna help it out here, but I don't think it's gonna see it that much play in standard. I might be wrong. I might be wrong on that one, but I don't know.
I think in a spell slinging deck. Maybe historic. You're right. Maybe not
I think
historic. I know in historic it'll see play.
Yeah. So maybe you're right. You're right.
Imagine if they hadn't banned Time Warp.
My God.
Could you? Oh
my God.
I need this in my EDH deck immediately.
It's really powerful. I for one, I hate blue cards that have to make me attack because I'd rather just be turtling up and then win instantaneously, not having to be like, oh, I have a card and I have to wait a freaking turn. That's why I like stuff that just happens in the moment, like Urza and stuff. But understandably so, if I had a deck that maybe was more spell slingy, more based in other type of stuff, maybe more creature based, this thing is a godsend. And if this shit was legendary, it would definitely be an amazing commander. But I feel like thank God it's not a legendary, because it would kind of be a little too much.
I feel like for once Wizards made a good decision here of not making it a legendary.
Agree. And it's one of the few blue cards that I am really proud of Wizards for doing, because even though it's still not the type of blue card I enjoy anymore from Wizards, it's as close as it gets for my liking.
I just like the fact that, you can just sit down and cast 4 card draw spells and just cast Demi-Lich because yes.
Yeah, because Let's talk about Guardian of Faith. So, let's talk about Guardian of Faith, and I think we'll close it out here because it's
just a few more cards.
Are you sure? I'm gonna skim. I'm gonna check the date. Thursday, July? No, there's still Friday and Saturday.
Today's July 2.
Because we're gonna be talking about all the class cards.
There.
Oh man, the class cards are insane.
We can go through them real quick. So Guardian of Faith.
Speed round.
One white creature, Spirit Knight, Flash Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, any number of other target creatures you control phase out. It's a 3/2. It's basically a protection for white. This is the great design space I want white to go towards more. This is exactly what white needs. It's a very good and strong card.
Guardianship.
It's very, very reminds me of Teferi's Protection. Teferi's Protection. But this is on a creature. It's more recurable. This is a good card.
Yeah. Again, it just works well in standard because of that mid-range environment in which like most decks just have like 2 or like 4 or up to 8 copies of a board wipe, and it works great.
It works great. I agree.
Let's keep going. Let's go. Speed round.
Yeah. Speed round. I mean, a really good card. One of the best white cards they've printed in a while. Yeah. There's a bunch of more D20 stuff. They're cute. They're not amazing.
The Dancing Sword.
We got another like exiling enchantment.
It's okay.
Dancing Sword.
I like that its quick cost 1 and the other has ward 1. So basically +2/+1 when the creature equipped to this dies, and you can just make a 2/1.
Yeah,
that's
with
it.
flying and ward, which I think
it's
not too horrible. Yeah,
flying and ward actually just makes it pretty worth it.
Yeah. Okay,
the
so
dragon.
This is the green card that we were discussing. Yeah.
Old Gnawbone, 5 green legendary creature dragon flying. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. 7/7. Okay, just to name off, if you have aggravated assault or Hellkite Tyrant, you just go infinite with combat in combats. If you have enough dragons dealing combat damage. There's the Hoarding Dragon.
Actually,
when you sacrifice a treasure instead of adding 1 mana, it adds 2 mana.
2 dragons.
What?
You just need to smack with that creature on its own, and you can get.
Creature on its own. But I'm also saying you need two dragons because you need to attack with like the other guy and the
Hellkite. The Hellkite needs to attack. So you have attack with both of them. If they both hit, you just go infinite.
Yeah.
There's another with aggravated assault with him. It just goes infinite. There's another one that when you sacrifice a treasure, you add 2 mana instead of 1, so that also works with this. Nice that it's treasure. Treasure works well with the flavor of dragons. 7 mana, 7/7. Great design space.
Yeah, it's very powerful. The fact that it creates that many treasure tokens, it's just green doing green things. Green is doing everything good, you know. This is the one you were talking about, Zorn. The one to create 1 or more treasure tokens, it will create those plus
instead.
1 more. Instead,
I was actually just thinking of shifting my token deck to basically a treasure token deck at that point because of this.
So let's talk about
card.
the class cards. There's a bunch of uncommon ones, and then there's a bunch of rare ones.
So this is the new subtype for enchantments.
Yes.
So barbarian class, 1 red. If you would roll 1 or more dice and still roll that many +1, ignore the lowest roll. So this is one of the cards I was talking about with the fairy, and that will work with the legendary uncommon we saw earlier.
Yep.
You could potentially draw. It's like you could potentially be rolling 3 to 4, maybe more dice to draw a bunch of cards. Anyways, how this works is. It starts in the first one, then you pay 2 mana, and it gains the ability in addition. So you keep the last one, and then you gain the other one.
Yep.
So this one is whenever you roll 1 or more dice, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains menace until on the turn. And then the last is creatures you control have haste. So all of this in total, it's basically like a level, very reminiscent to the Saga and level up mechanic.
Yep.
Because it is literally level. It's a mixture of both.
Sure.
I don't feel like this is the strongest, but I do feel like if you play this in the rolling dice deck, you play for 1 mana and basically ignore the other abilities.
Yeah. I mean, if you have excess mana.
If you have the excess mana, yes.
And I think that's the cool part about it. The excess mana. If you have excess mana, you can get to level 3. It's like creatures you control have haste is pretty strong in red because you're going to be in red doing that. So
yeah. The Warlock class, another is mono black. There's nothing like the same type of design space. I don't really necessarily want to talk about the Warlock class specifically or the Cleric class. I think
the Cleric class just has really good synergy with what is being played in like white-wise and standard. I just don't think that white is just up to that standard where it can be played in like we can really play mono white and enter the meta. That's my only issue with it.
Yeah, I agree. The Bard class is kind of cool because legendary creatures you control get When they enter the battlefield, have a 1/1 counter on them. But if you do the level 2, they cost basically rule less to cast. So that's kind of cool too. And then if you get to the level 3, whenever you cast a legendary spell, you exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this
Sorry
turn.
about
Which I was talking about the fact that I mentioned this to JP earlier. There's a bunch of cards in different colors that allow you to play with the top deck. They're doing this thing now where it's been going on
Yeah.
for a couple of sets where they're letting you
And
play with the
Gruul
top deck
already
of
has a
yours.
sorcery that does that too.
Yeah, no, Gruul. Look,
For 5.
Gruul does it. Like Rakdos
Mono
is
Red
doing
does
it. Mono Red does it. Like there's so many different colors that are doing this. It's interesting. It's interesting that they're doing this to these type of colors and these combination of colors. Before we keep going with the classes, I want to talk about this stupid dude. I don't know how.
He's not a stupid dude.
It's just fun, dude. The hamster thing is. I saw the token. The token that he has.
Yes.
Freaking funny, man.
The legendary hamster.
It's a
Go for
it's
the
a,
eyes, boo.
It's a 1/1 hamster with trample and haste, and the flavor text is go for the eyes, boo.
Yeah, goes
Yes.
for the eyes, boo. And then
I
you play
just-
X, and on the end of turn, target creature you control has base power and toughness, and becomes XX, and then becomes a giant addition to its other types. Activate only as a sorcery. Duh. You basically make the hamster gigantic. That's literally the whole point of this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
I
freaking.
am a little
it's freaking
disappointed that they did that activate only as a sorcery bit because
Agreed.
it is so good to have the versatility in the ability that that Minx has. Like,
Yeah.
I want to keep talking about it, but we late. Come on.
No, it's cool. Like I agree.
Like,
Like it should have not been sorcery because come on, it's just cute. Like people are gonna build this off the fact that you're making a freaking hamster token. Come on, that's
The ranger
literally it.
class is actually one of the ones.
Yes,
pretty-
it is.
pretty
It's
good.
one of the stronger ones because I hate
yeah.
the wizard class. It's
You
horrible.
get a 2/2, then you get Curse of Predation, which is whenever it attacks, you just get a +1 counter. And it's attacking, you don't have to deal combat damage first. And then the other one is basically card draw. You can cast a top card if it's creature. You can look at it.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
need
really
time.
good. I will ask something to Chris real quick as a DM. When you
He
meet,
ha- he
when you
kinda- is he still there?
oh, he's there. He left. I'm sorry.
He just kind of
Oh,
disappeared.
he left. He disappeared. Well, okay, JP. I'll ask you. You've played a couple of campaigns, just for curiosity.
I've been a DM.
Okay, great. Then even better. If you meet in the tavern, is
Yeah.
really the only 2 options that you have is to form a party or start a brawl. You literally can't do anything else.
I mean, there's probably other stuff, but yeah.
Okay, so you just get to form a party or
that is
just
very
fight people.
stereotypical.
Okay, you don't get to drink or eat food or go to a toilet.
No, you probably do that.
Okay,
I
so
mean-
Chris, I was asking JP the same thing. So when
I
you
heard
meet
it.
in a tavern, do you form a party or start a brawl? Is that literally
Look,
your only 2 options?
Man, look, as we've like probably mentioned before, Dungeons and Dragons, the coolest part about it is that you can do anything. But usually when you get introduced to new players and you tell them you can do anything, it just comes down to 2 things.
Okay.
You either get railroaded into starting the party because you just want to start the adventure and just go ahead with it, or someone who decided to play a barbarian
Chaotic.
is like,
Yeah.
who's the strongest guy in the bar? Oh, well, it's
Okay.
like an orc in the corner.
I get it.
I'm
I
gonna
get it.
challenge him to a fight.
I
What?
get it.
Why?
Chaotic.
Because I can.
Yeah, I get you.
You said I could do anything, DM.
The sorcerer class is very strong because of the 2nd level.
Yes.
Creatures
very
you
much.
control can tap for mana, and they add blue and white, and you can only use it for instant or sorcery spells. For a spell slinger deck that involves
Or
token
to
like
gain
blue.
the class level, so they can.
Or
pay
to
for
gain the
your
glass
next
level, which is really important too. But the 2nd level adds you mana, so you can storm off with a deck like the Locust God or Kaikar Wind's Fury,
Yes.
which create tokens whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. In this case, with Locust, is whenever he draws, he makes that many
Mhm.
tokens.
Yep.
Is very good for that.
I feel like the fighter class can definitely go easily underestimated, but can do some good work in standard, considering that there's like a few cards that interact with equipment. You have Halvar, which is being used in standard as well. He like looks for like a sword or something. No, I'm sorry. There's a card that looks for either Halvar or an equipment. So, you have more chances to like tutor for stuff, especially with that fighter class that enters the battlefield, tutors for an equipment. And then that -2 to equip cost to abilities. I think that is definitely going to make a really fun equipment deck in standard, especially before that Ember Cleave rotates out.
The rogue class is pretty good too. Whatever
I think
creature
it's
you control.
excellent, and hopefully it can make rogues stay in standard.
So when you deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library face down. See another card that does the same thing. You play with the top deck of either yours or the opponent's.
Yes.
And then the next level is your creatures have menace, but the third level is you may play the rogue card, the cards exile with the rogue class, and you may pay mana as though it was mana to any color to cast it. So it's it's pretty good.
See, a common theme that we've addressed before is like Wizards printing cards that like take out your opponent's stuff preemptively out of their deck. And on top of that, we have the rogue's deck, which is like their job is to mill your opponent. So this just keeps playing into that even more, especially with that 1-drop rogue. You exile the top of their library, and then on top of that, when you deal the damage, you're also taking another card off. So it just provides more value for that 1-drop, and you can play it right after, which is amazing. You're taking 2 cards off of your opponent's top.
That's
turn 2 if you didn't get like a crab, I guess, for turn 1. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Split the party. 3 blue. I don't care about the rule stacks. Just split the party.
Don't split the party.
That's the best flavor deck.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna mention that. Yeah. I saw that. I was dying laughing. Okay, the paladin class is pretty strong.
Yes,
as
for
it
the
should
first
be.
mode.
As
For the
it
first
should.
mode, definitely.
So it gives it taxes your opponents for playing stuff in your turn for 1. Then it pumps your creatures, and then it buffs 1 creature really big for each attacking creature.
And an enchantment slot, it definitely, I wouldn't say shuts down, but pretty nearly shuts down like red decks in standard.
Yeah.
Like easily.
Yeah.
It's insane for 1 mana.
There's the druid class, and then the dragon. Let's talk about dragon and treasure vault.
The treasure vault, yeah. So the dragon, Emerith. Emerith Desert Doom. It's 3 blue, legendary creature, dragon, flying. Emerith Desert Doom has ward 4 as long as it's untapped. Whenever Emerith deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then if you have fewer than 3 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. It's a 5/5. I don't understand how would you have less cards. Like I'm not a standard player, so in general for blue, you just would have a lot of cards in hand, so you wouldn't be drawing 3 cards.
It's just that kind of thing in which you're stuck. I think this is kind of like the kind of thing you either run in your sideboard or run in like you just run like maybe 1, maybe 2 copies of at most. In which it's just really good because of that ward 4. It's like it's a 5/5 flyer with ward 4. That's like nothing to sneeze at in standard.
Yeah.
Then you attack with it, and it's tapped.
Yes, of course. But the thing here is that there are more range decks that sometimes do have that problem with like they don't have like hands, but
if it read whenever Imerith attacks, draw a card. Then if you have fewer than 3, draw 3 cards or draw cards equal to the difference.
Yeah.
That would be like worth it because you attacked, now it's vulnerable. You get the effect.
Exactly.
No, now you attack, it's vulnerable, and you might not get the effect.
Exactly.
And
there's that to consider. Yeah, I don't like the fact
that it does hurt me that it has that limitation you just mentioned in a mythic slot.
Exactly. On a dragon, on a mythic dragon.
On a mythic dragon. That's same point that I mentioned earlier. Excluding the green dragon that we addressed earlier, I am definitely disappointed in the power level of dragons in a set that its titular name is Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. They somehow managed to get dungeons right.
Yeah.
We can talk about the venture mechanic all you want, but they got the dungeons right and somehow get the dragons wrong.
Yeah, there's a bunch of dragons, but just because it has a bunch of dragons doesn't mean like it's good.
Exactly.
They're thinking they're thinking more and more quantity, not quality.
Exactly.
Anyways, Treasure Vault. It's an artifact land.
Yes.
That's very, very relevant.
Yes.
It taps for colorless. XX, tap it and sacrifice. So you create X treasure tokens. This is an actual really strong card.
Yeah.
It is a shame that you gotta sacrifice it.
No.
Well, thank God, though, right? I mean,
Gotcha.
that'd be insane if you.
I love this card.
Oh man, that is insane.
Copying it with Oscar will be fun.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You're disgusting. I love you.
Yeah, make 2 lands out of it, or
2 lands? I'm gonna be 4 lands, 8 lands,
I,
12 lands.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to play it with Emery just so I can say I can.
Yeah, no, it has a lot of utility. My Urza deck, it would be useful because if I have excess mana, I can be just, we'll sack it, and then now I have a bunch of moxes in my field now. Like, it's so good.
Same.
Yeah, that's it for all the spoiled cards. Uh, Overall, I think, and I'm not a D&D expert, so you let me know, but I think they've captured, for the most part, what it's like to play D&D.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
the dragons are a little subpar, won't deny it. The venture into a dungeon as a mechanic, it's a little subpar, but it's cool that you get to venture into a dungeon. And they made dungeons, and they made the whole thing with the little levels and stuff. I wasn't expecting them to do the classes, so that was a cute little surprise for me when I saw them today.
Yes. I agree.
That was really cool that they actually did the classes, and I guess they made it for most of the classes in D&D.
You're
And
missing
the way
one.
that they're okay, well, they're probably gonna spoil it soon. I'm pretty
Which
sure.
one?
Artificer? I didn't see an artificer.
Oh, but his Artificer is currently in like the original books, like not the original
Tasha's.
books, like the that's
It's
true.
legal. It's legal. Yeah, it's
Yes,
not just
yes,
everyone.
and
Yeah,
Tasha's. I forgot about Tasha's.
they
I
just got
haven't
fully
read
printed.
Tasha's yet,
Yeah,
man. I have it at home and I haven't read it yet.
Maybe they'll spoil
yeah.
it. I mean, I hopefully. I do like the way that they played with that idea, making it like a weird saga slash level up. It's cool. They're pretty strong, most of them, so I dig them too. What other mechanic here has been introduced? They're rolling d20s. They're not
And
strong, but it exemplifies again what D&D is. I
and
feel like
the modal effects with the flavor.
right, and the modal
Yes.
effects with the flavor, having the flavor text in the card embedded, like you have
Mhm.
choices, like, oh, you are wandering into a path. Do you like stab yourself or eat a donut? Like, it's super cool. Like, you have flavor text within the card, and it's kind of interesting.
You know
Um,
that sounds funny at first until you realize there are actually players that would consider options like that.
Hi, I am player. um, but like, I feel like, again, I'm not like a super D&D expert, but I feel like for the most part, Wizards did a great job exemplifying what it means to play D&D in Magic the Gathering.
Mhm. I think the only part where I personally feel like they failed in terms of flavor
Mhm.
is that, again, capturing the power of dragons, because dragons in the context of Dungeons and Dragons, like, dragons are really powerful beings. They're not only overpowering beasts in like their physical aspects as literally being some of the strongest creatures like that you can encounter in the game, but also, they have like their breath weapon, which is like basically a magical effect. And on top of that, some of them are like basically wizards who can cast spells and like highly intelligent creatures. So, it is a bit disappointing to just see.
I feel like dragons are overrated. I said it.
Whoa.
I said it.
Okay. No, it's understandable. I totally
You are
get it.
you
I totally
and,
get it.
you are biased towards dragons, having 4, maybe 5
Yeah.
dragon decks. So
Yes, but
no, dragons are overrated.
I do have to say,
But it's called Dungeons and
at
Dragons,
least
though.
in the case of gold dragons and
I've-
certain
I've
chromatic
played-
dragons, they are in fact highly intelligent creatures that are literally like at the level of sorcerers and wizards and can cast magic. It's insane. On top of being very powerful, like physically, the only thing
That's
that like beats these things are stuff that are just more powerful than them magic wise, which again I know there's a lot of, but I still think that in a lot of ways it's very underpowered because, dude, have you fought a dragon? Like,
Yes,
well, yes, we have.
Don't you remember the epic
But
epic
yeah, but
ancient dragon
do
fight?
you
Yeah.
realize like how powerful we have to be? We were at like levels 10 and 15 fighting dragons and shit.
I've been
You
involved in
know?
6. I've been involved in
I've
6
seen in people that don't even.
campaigns,
I've
and
seen people
only
that
2
don't
of
even
them.
get to the
Only
level
2
where they
of
can
them.
like fight against a fully grown dragon because
Be-
like we
they're
don't have
overrated.
depictions of like
Because
baby
they're
dragons
overrated.
here.
They are overrated. They're not that good.
But JP, the thing is, it's called Dungeons and Dragons, so you kind of have to put
Again,
the dragons.
we're going
You
again.
have to
We're
exemplify
talking
what they
about
are.
legendary dragons, bro. Legendary dragons are not a thing to sneeze at. If you just build a dragon like the generic dungeon, like manual white dragon, like the manual, like the not dungeon master's manual, the monster manual dragon. Yes, of course it's gonna like be pretty okay and overrated. But if you build a legendary dragon the way they're kind of meant to be in the case of legendary dragons that have full ass names and are basically act as like wizards and shit.
I will die on this hill.
I got a question. If these dragons were more closely resembling the dragons of Tarkir dragons, would you guys be okay with that?
They'd be stronger. Wow, they would be a lot stronger.
How so? Like when you say resemble, you saying like power level as like the cards itself?
Yeah, like
or...
what if we had an Atarka?
Okay,
One of them was literally just a Tarka.
Okay.
The effect.
No, but let's say Imarith. Imarith Desert Doom resembles Ojutai. The 5 mana Ojutai. 5 mana Ojutai was a 5/6. It had hexproof as long as it was untapped. And whenever it attacked, it didn't deal combat damage. Whenever it attacked, you anticipated. You looked at the top 3 cards of your library and put one into your hand. Yeah. That's what this should have done. But instead of that, just draw a card, and if you have less than 3, you just draw 3 cards instead.
Because
that would have been strong.
Because
that
Wizards is the thing is, Wizards is also battling with the fact that it's also a standard set and a core set.
That was a standard set.
No, I understand.
But then again, hey, no, hold on. You do have to admit though, the power level between Dragons of Tarkir and the stuff that came after was insane when compared to the current.
None of the dragons were properly played. The only proper dragon deck was Jeskai Dragons. I remember that was my deck in standard.
Yeah.
That was the one deck I actually spent a decent amount. Mm-hmm. And I played that deck and I won like 2 tournaments, two tournaments actually. Mm-hmm. And that was the only deck in that entire standard that played dragons. There was Esper Dragons, but it was just like Esper control with I happened to have a dragon to finish the game. That was basically Esper Dragons. That wasn't a thing. Like the whole standard was just either combo, aggressive. There was a bunch of elves. It was super diverse. Eventually, like that Battle for Zendikar appeared, and then you had the Eldrazi, and then you had other stuff. Yeah, no, it was dragons weren't that big of a thing. There was 2 decks.
Okay, fair enough.
So
they
could have made them stronger.
Yeah, I feel like they could have just made them stronger, but just unplayable in standard, and screw it. I would have been totally fine with this.
At least make one playable.
No. Yeah, no.
You got the playable one, the green one.
That's 7 mana though.
No, it is definitely playable in standard though. Green ramp is ridiculous, bro. Especially until Eldraine rotates out. Green is still freaking ridiculous, man. Yeah. You can ramp the living crap out of it, and on top of that, you have the Great Henge, which you could literally. What I've done in a lot of cases when I try to build janky decks in Arena for like my challenges, I'll just stick a Great Henge in it because a Great Henge literally makes the whole deck for you at that point. Because you can just like stick a bunch of like what do they call it? I always forget. Like mana dorks in it, and then just like start dropping big creatures. So either you drop a big creature, it's a huge bomb, and your opponent is like just scratching his head. What the heck am I going to do next? Or you're just dropping a bunch of like little mana dorks to get your bombs. So you could potentially, let's say, turn 2, 3. You could turn like, what is it? Yeah, you could turn 2 at the beast.
Yes,
I forget its name.
Turn 2.
I said 3 because it costs 3. You get my point. But you could Gilded Goose turn 1, turn 3, turn 2. You have the Lovestruck Beast.
Yeah.
And next turn you put down your Great Henge.
Yeah.
Like turn 4.
Funny
and
how
you have 6 mana. After that, you put down a land.
And a lot of things.
Yeah, Lovestruck Beast is obviously they overcosted and they didn't consider
undercosted.
Undercosted. Yeah. They didn't consider that the adventure mechanic was going to be that ridiculous. Yeah, for sure. Okay, guys. I guess this is the end of our stream. We covered all the important D&D cards that were spoiled during the first week. We still have another week, and we still have the Commander spoilers, which we did not discuss, but we'll just wait for, I think, the final, because I don't know if it was 4 or 5
and when decks, they actually spoil the deck lists?
The deck list will be better. It's 4? Okay, great. So I'll just wait for the deck list, because then I'll know what's included inside and the new cards that'll use the D&D mechanics and the flavor to add to the commander decks and make them hopefully powerful or more interesting. Venture 3 times per turn. I don't know, something ridiculous. It'll be interesting. Hopefully they do something crazy like that. I don't know. But Chris, where can they find you?
Well, you guys can find me on Twitch as ChrisCross13 and on our social media and here at the Cardboard Cave Podcast.
JP, where can the people find you?
You can find me here in the Cardboard Cave podcast. But more importantly, Alejandro, where can they find you?
They can find me in a whole bunch of places. You can find me in the Movie Guy podcast. You can find me in Cinemas podcast, which incidentally, tomorrow I will have a podcast. I will be talking with this Puerto Rican VFX artist, and we'll be basically doing VFX artist react. I'm going to be putting a bunch of VFX clips on the stream. We're going to be talking about how they made it, why they're so important to the history of VFX in terms of film, and we'll be gushing about special effects for like an hour or two. It'll be interesting. Beyond that, you can also find me here with you guys at Cardboard Cave talking about Magic and its exhaustive spoiler seasons that never seem to end. You can also find me at Cine Nerds at 15 in Richport, where we discuss like films too, and we do comparisons between 2 or 3 films that we like to discuss during those streams. But yeah, hopefully John will join us next time, and we can keep talking about the final, hopefully the final spoiler week and the commander cards next week. And yeah, guys, I hope you have a good night. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I hope you had fun watching us talk about D&D. Good night, guys.
Hey geeks, do you love comics, collectibles, and TCG? Well, here at Cardboard Cave, we have the place for you. Pass by Kapitan Granuja Comics and Games and find all your favorite geeky items there. Look for them at Facebook or Instagram or call them at 787-659-7003. A store blessed by Nicole Bolas.